Jai.
Oh yeah. Okay. So like what I was speaking with Ronald when you left Peru was that like the, this thing of um the May 28th conversation, um like um you know uh Prabhupada like gave some pretty specific instructions in that, and it, it like one thing you said to us a while ago on one of the chats was that like Prabhupada, there's no way for Prabhupada to, like, how do we know Prabhupada knew he was being recorded? And I mean, like, it's the same way he probably knew he was being poisoned and who was doing it, because he was that kind of a
Yes,
person that
but
he knew things, he knew stuff. So he
okay,
knew
but
stuff,
I know,
and also
Prabhu.
they were recording
So
for
if
almost
we're
the
going to make
entire
it all,
all his
are we going
all
to
his
make it
last
all woo woo?
but
It's
all
going to
his
be
last
all
days, no, all his last
magical,
days,
magical or practical.
all his last days they were recording all the time. So he probably knew they had a microphone on 90%, almost
Yes,
all of the
but
time,
does that?
because
But these men are materialists. They wanted a material objective out of Prabhupada.
but
And
Prabhupada's not a
Prabhupada
materialist.
was quite aware of the fact that they wanted a material objective.
But
Huh?
we can't like Prabhupada wasn't a materialist, so he's gonna, and there's probably other disciples around who
Well,
are sincere.
but
So
his disciples were poisoning him.
but is it it's just, I mean, the spiritual matters duty is to give a correct instruction, not to like, so if they're not going to follow it, that's their
So what
problem.
sort of correct instruction do you give a cheater?
uh well, yeah, Prabhupada did say that, like, uh what correct instruction do you give a cheater? Well, the thing is, if he's given the instruction and other people can hear the instruction, like he was asked, how will
Which
initiations
of his
continue?
disciples were
He was asked, how will
transcendent?
initiations continue after? He was asked, how would initiations continue after you're no longer with
Initiation
us?
was already
So
going on without Prabhupada before the July 9th letter.
yeah, but they were asking, would a change occur? Would a change occur when they are no
What
longer
change?
with us? Well, actually, he
What
states that
change?
change. He states that don't become a guru in my presence. But then after his presence, he says, on my behalf, you become a guru. So he was saying that people could be
So
a
who did he
guru
ask? Who did he ask to become a guru?
on his behalf. Yeah, those these 11 cheater people. But these
And
people who
what did
turned out to be
and how
cheaters.
did he call them Diksha gurus? How did he make them into real gurus?
He didn't make them into Diksha gurus. He said guru on his behalf, meaning he's the Diksha guru and they are a representative guru. That's what he said
So
in the May
so that was
28th.
going on anyhow. All the temple presidents.
No, it wasn't. That wasn't going on at all, because they weren't actually taking disciples in his presence. But he was saying in the May 28th
If you are
conversation that they
Ritvik,
would be his
wait,
disciples.
Prabhu, if you are a Ritvik, you're not taking, you are acting in behalf of the bona fide spiritual master who happens to be present, but not doing the ceremony of the fire sacrifice. The Ritvik performs the fire sacrifice. That's all a Ritvik does.
No, but
Right?
he said in the May 28th conversation, he said, you do not become a guru in my presence. But afterwards, what is the relationship of the person who is giving initiation and taking it? And he said, they're his disciple. So he was saying that these
Yeah,
people
but
would
that
actually
gets
become their disciples.
that gets
That was
confused. That part of the conversation. But what is, okay? Let me ask you,
it's
what
not
is
con-
the need for a initiating guru after Prabhupada?
No, there is no initiating. Prabhupada is still the initiating guru. Like Prabhupada said that in the May 28th conversation. They said to him, who's, like, he was giving initiation, whose disciple are they? And so he, like, the initiating guru, the person who's giving the initiation is still Prabhupada giving the diksha through the Ritvik, but the person who's giving that initiating, he's
what is the difference between the Ritvik and the temple president Ritvik fire sacrifices as early as 1970? What's the difference?
The difference is that Prabhupada said, don't become a guru in my presence, but on my behalf, that person's relationship is a disciple to that person. So there, and he even went further.
But when you say that person,
he went further.
Who is that person?
Well, they said the person who they go to for initiation. The person they go to for initiation,
you go to Prabhupada for initiation, no?
No, they go to, no, he meant directly, like he said directly in the conversation, he said the person that they go to for initiation, who is it, whose disciple are they? And they said they're his disciple. And what is the relationship to the initiating guru, to the Diksha guru? And he says they're his disciple.
What was the relationship between the temple president who performed the Ritvik fire sacrifice in 1970? What's the difference between that and the July 9th letter?
The May 28th. The difference between that and the July 9th and the May 28th is that Prabhupada is no longer present. Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question. The difference is that Prabhupada is no longer present.
It's not admissible.
Yeah, you said that, but it explains the July 9th.
You know how I know it's not admissible?
Yeah. Well, he's explaining.
Do you want to know how I know that it's
No, I was trying to answer the question. I don't want to know. I was trying to answer the question. Because you asked me.
You want to make the May 28th tape into something that it cannot be.
No, I'm taking it as it is.
Huh?
I'm taking it as it is, but you asked me what is the difference. Okay. You asked me what is the difference, so I'll tell you that the difference is. No, you asked me what is the difference. So if you don't let me answer something you ask, then you can just keep asking, and we'll keep on going, and we'll never get anywhere, because you asked me what is the difference between when Prabhupada was present and the Ritvik initiations were taking place. And then you asked me, what is the difference between the July 9th and the May 28th conversations, or just the July 9th?
Well, wait a minute. You said, you said when the Ritvik initiations were taking place.
Yeah, you asked practically speaking, you were asking me, what is the difference between Ritvik while Prabhupada is present and Ritvik while Prabhupada is not present? That's what you asked me.
Prabhupada never said Ritvik. Tamal said Ritvik.
Okay, well, July 9th, where,
yes.
the letter,
okay.
the letter, you asked me about the July 9th letter, and the July 9th letter contained, you interrupted me as well. This is the thing, I'm still not able to answer
because I'm trying to get to the point.
Yeah,
and I happen to know the answers. The question is...
But you asked me a specific question. You're not letting me answer that question.
Okay, what is your specific answer to the specific question?
Okay, you said, what is the difference between when Prabhupada was present and Ritvik initiations were continuing, and then the initiations after? And the difference is in the May 28th, when he says that these people, before, while Prabhupada was present and they were taking initiations from these temple presidents, they were still remaining disciples of Prabhupada in that. But now he is saying they are his grand disciples, meaning he's giving them the diksha as a grandfather guru, but they become the disciple of whoever is giving the initiation to them.
Okay. Does the initiating guru have to be an Uttama Adhikari or not?
Prabhupada is an Uttama Adhikari, so he's he's giving the diksha. No, he's giving the diksha.
The successor gurus. You believe in successor gurus. Do those successor gurus have to be Uttama Adhikari or not?
Not in this case, because they're not successor gurus. They're not actually gurus. They're not like they're gurus on his behalf. It's not, they're not a guru. They're a guru on, that's the difference.
So
The difference is they guru on his behalf. That's what he said in the May 28th thing. He said,
so what are they?
guru on
What
his
does that
behalf.
mean?
Guru, it means,
okay, can I ask you a
it
question?
means that he's the guru, and then they give shiksha
So
on his behalf.
What,
Like
if anything, and you say, do you believe something has changed by that May 20th letter? That's the way it was all along, right?
Yeah, well, this is the change is that how could disciples of a spiritual master be wrong for implementing instructions that were given and recorded by their spiritual master? If they implement instructions,
Okay,
how can anyone say that they are wrong?
You said that whoever is mentioned in the May 20th tape is going to be initiating in Prabhupada's behalf. That's what you said.
Yeah, they would initiate people on his behalf. Yeah, but and be a guru on his behalf.
Going on since 1970. Going on since 1970.
But he said to them. But he said to them.
What do you consider is different?
But he said to them, "You cannot be a guru in my presence." And then, but he said, "After my presence, on my behalf, then you become guru."
What sort of guru is the guru not in his presence?
Well, he's differentiating a different type of guru here. He's saying guru on his behalf.
That's horrific.
Yeah, but it's not just you see, the difference was that before his departure, the people were giving initiations, but they weren't actually like having a disciple to give practical instructions to and to follow up with all the time. But after Prabhupada's not present,
what instructions are required?
It's like he's saying in the May 28th thing, once I'm not present, you need to take care of these people.
Okay, fine.
And shepherd them and be a guru to them on his behalf.
I'm asking you a direct question.
Yeah.
After Prabhupada is gone, assuming that his books are not all burned up and don't cease to exist, what instructions aside from Prabhupada's books are required?
What instructions? Well, they could be giving instructions from Prabhupada's books, but the point is, he said, be a guru on my behalf.
No. What instructions that are not in Prabhupada's books are required for a guru to offer?
No, the thing is, they could be giving instructions from those books. That's the thing. They could be giving instructions.
Why should they?
In the same way that
are they saying that
in the same way
that you can't read the books?
In the same way that they shouldn't be giving their own instructions because they're not a guru. They're a guru on someone else's behalf, so they should be giving the instructions on behalf of that person.
So what is the difference between that and a Ritvik?
Because usually Ritviks, they initiate someone, but then the person goes away and they don't actually like they don't follow up with that person or have a relationship with that person after they give the Ritvik initiation. Usually the person just goes and they're gone.
So
and then
why
they
is
don't
that
actually.
Tell me why is that? Why is that important?
Why is that important? Well, it gives a structure to things and it gives people a way to.
So you say that Prabhupada's books are so complicated that you need a guru to explain them to you.
It's not about that you need. Well,
I think he made his books so that anyone could read them. That's why he distributed them to non-devotees.
Yeah, anyone can read. But when it comes to
what's the problem then?
But when it comes to organizing temples and things like that and having a practical structure,
you don't need a guru to organize the temple. You need a temple president to organize the temple. That's the way we did it in the very beginning.
Yeah, but if there's no organizational structure in that, people don't.
There is an organization. Have you ever been in a temple?
Yeah.
Would you say there's an organizational structure?
Yeah, but when people are taking, if people are taking initiation.
No, I'm not talking about initiation. I'm talking about getting people to get up in the morning, go to Mangalarti, go out on Sankirtan, cook prasadam, worship the deity. Does that require a guru to do it? Or you just follow Prabhupada's?
Yeah, there's a
Follow the
structure.
history of ISKCON.
There's a structure. Everyone can remain as a bhakta. That's possible. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you need a guru for to worship the deity?
You would to take second initiation if you're going to worship a deity. Yeah.
Yes, but that doesn't mean you need a guru to take second initiation. Look, do you agree that Prabhupada said ISKCON is his body? Do you agree with that?
I seem to remember that quote. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Based on if he said
ISKCON
that. Yeah.
is Prabhupada's body, then if an ISKCON temple president initiates you, you're initiated by Prabhupada, no? Because you're a disciple. You become initiated by ISKCON.
But you see, the problem seems to be that once people do that and they take that initiation, then people are like, in general, we're in Kali Yuga and people tend to stray and wander. And if someone takes an initiation,
why would they stray and wander? If they want to live in the temple, they have to follow the regulative principles. No.
Yeah, but then
so what's the problem?
They would say
if you follow Prabhupada's program, there's no problem. You don't need a guru. You just need to go to the temple.
But Prabhupada, well, one of the things that the Prabhupada kind of wanted was to have people. A lot of people would be grihastas living outside. Most of the people would be grihastas.
So what? The guru is going to become a grihasta also because of the grihastas? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying that because like not everyone is going to live in a temple under the authority of a temple president. But
well, that's what we did. When I joined the temple in 1968, Prabhupada was nowhere to be seen. There were devotees that were shortly on their way to going to London to work with the Beatles to make the most famous recording of the Hare Krishna mantra using Prabhupada's melody, rhythm, and mridanga beats in the history of ISKCON. And when I moved into the temple, everything was being run very strictly without Prabhupada being personally present. So why do you have to have somebody there being personally present in order to make the temple run properly?
Well, the temple president does have to be there to make it run properly. That's
okay. So the temple president needs to be more advanced than the new devotee that just came in last week from the street, right?
Yeah. Prabhupada said the temple president should be above suspicion. The head should be clean. So he needs to be at least following the principles and things like that.
Of course.
That's natural.
And not only that, he should be a twice born. He should be a Brahminical initiation, or he could even be a sannyasi. No, he couldn't be a sannyasi, but he should be he should be a Brahmin initiated.
Brahminical enough to keep up the standards, like. Yeah.
Well, that's what we did at the beginning when Prabhupada was all around the world. Prabhupada was not in every single center at all times.
Right.
I mean, there are temples in Vancouver. Prabhupada never once went to Vancouver.
But the purpose of a temple president is to maintain temple worship and temple standards and all kind of things. But this is not the mission really. Like, temples are good and it's nice to have temples, but the mission is for people to make spiritual advancement, and that's the difference between.
So how do you make spiritual advancement?
That's the difference between a guru and a temple president. Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, let me answer.
You're not answering my question. You're going.
I'm gonna go. You said, how do you make spiritual advancement? I'm about to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does the guru?
Yeah. So the temple. Yeah. So we'll leave the temple president. Then that's one different thing. And then to make a guru is a different thing. To make spiritual advancement, it means to follow the instructions of the spiritual master and to work and cooperate with the devotees in devotional service. And then one makes spiritual advancement as long as one is following strictly the principles. So
you're saying that Prabhupada is not qualified, you're saying?
No, you see, that's the thing. You're putting words in my mouth. You're saying that I'm asking
you a question. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a question.
You said so. You were saying Prabhupada is not qualified.
Okay, is Prabhupada qualified?
That's a statement. That's not a question. Is
I'm
Prabhupada
asking you,
qualified?
is
Yes.
Prabhupada qualified? That's a
Well,
question.
well, you made a statement first, but now you're making a question. So now you're saying, is he
Now I'm making a
qualified? Yes,
question because you didn't
yes,
like to.
yes, he is qualified.
Then why do you need another guru?
I didn't say you need another guru because he didn't say it either. He said a guru on his behalf. That's not the same as another guru.
A guru on his behalf. You're a guru on his behalf.
I'm a guru on his behalf, but he was talking formally, like to have a formal disciple, and that person would be shepherded and
he
taken
never
along
said
and
that.
helped by another person. But he did in the May 28th. He said, "You become guru on my behalf, but not in my presence."
But did he say that that person then takes on the karma of all of the disciples that he makes?
Well, it stands to reason that that's not true because he said on his behalf, so he'd be the one taking on the karma.
So why do you need the guru who cannot take on the karma?
The guru, because Prabhupada said not in his presence, so it gives the person some organization.
After Prabhupada is gone, why do you need a guru who doesn't take on Prabhupada's karma, the disciples' karma?
Well, logically,
you have a guy that's called a guru, but he doesn't.
He's able to, obviously, according to
unlike Prabhupada.
Well, if Prabhupada said that and it's true and he wanted it, then there must be some benefit to the person doing things on behalf of Prabhupada, and the things that he would do that would be beneficial, the things that he would do that would be beneficial on behalf of Prabhupada.
Why can't he be a temple?
Would be a stand-in for things that Prabhupada can't do when he's not physically present. Like take people to task when they're getting lazy and stuff like that. I don't know. That
really? And the temple president can't do that, you're saying?
The temple president, but he can, but his duty is to see that the temple runs very nicely as a temple. And there seems to be a conflict of interests between
How about the top pujari? He can't do it.
Let me finish my point, because I was saying that there seemed to be a conflict of interest between temple presidents wanting to run temples, but if they're trying to run temples and to take care of people's spiritual life and move them forward in spiritual life, then it doesn't seem like that's really their job either. So
may I ask you a question?
Well, I should probably finish this other bit before we move on.
Well, where are you going with it?
The same thing, that to follow Prabhupada's instructions, to see if this is what he wanted in the May 28th letter, because it would help people greatly.
It wasn't a May 28th letter, by the way.
Not letter, sorry, conversation. Yeah, my apologies. It was a conversation, but
informal conversation.
Yeah. Well,
Was it a formal meeting with the chairman, resolutions, notes taken, records? Or was it just a conversation amongst a bunch of Prabhupada disciples with Prabhupada? If it's going to have weight, it has to be a formal meeting. The chairman brings the meeting to order. We're going to ask Prabhupada a series of questions. We have written these questions down. We want to know what is your answer to each one of these questions.
So this goes back to the other question I asked. Does any meeting like this exist at all? But where Prabhupada called a formal meeting and he sat down and he had, like, is there another example of this where Prabhupada left some instructions for people through one of these formal meetings? Is there any example of a formal meeting like that?
Specifically, not.
So you're saying there's
no.
So
if Prabhupada thought it was important to make these instructions, he would have done it formally, wouldn't he? He did everything else he did formally. Even that stupid July 9th letter was done formally a couple of months after, 2 months after this conversation in the room. Tamal insisted on making a meeting where Prabhupada committed to who was going to do what. That's not present in the May tape, because the May tape wasn't a meeting. The May tape was a room conversation in which everybody sat around asking Prabhupada random questions without any format. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, why do we put such a low standard on Prabhupada and a higher standard on the meeting of your school board, or the meeting of parliament, or the meeting of a marriage proposal formula where things are worked out between two families?
Well,
Why is it so much less than that?
We don't. It's Prabhupada's words that we're looking at here, and it's his words in this conversation.
Yes, and his words were not,
I'm not really
part
concerned
of it. Were they part of a formal conversation? Or was he simply answering random questions of random people in the room? Who was on the agenda? Who spoke first? Who was the chairman of the meeting?
But
who presented the questions to Prabhupada?
I haven't seen any examples. Most of Prabhupada's instructions that he gave to people were given in these informal conversations and meetings.
Some were and some weren't. The direction of management was done formally, with everyone signing it.
But you see that these things are based on how temples should be run and things like that. But for people,
yes. Now you keep.
But we're discussing the Guru Tattva, which is different to temple management.
The Guru Tattva means Uttama Adhikari. Okay.
Yeah. So there's management Tattva and Guru Tattva, and there's a separation.
So where's the Guru Tattva going to come from after Prabhupada?
I mean, it's going to come from Prabhupada on his behalf, or
no. Where is the Guru who's called a Guru, who's worshipped as a Guru, get the Guru Tattva to become the Guru?
Where does he get it? He gets it from Prabhupada in the disciplic succession.
And what is
I'm not saying that you're assuming that there is such a person. I'm not assuming there is such a person, but
no, I'm saying that what is the qualification of Guru Tattva? According to Prabhupada, not according to the blather on the street. What is the qualification of a guru? Shiksha guru and Diksha guru. What is written in Shastra on that topic? Shastra means Prabhupada's books.
The Diksha guru gives the transcendental liberation, and the Shiksha guru. The Shiksha guru represents unadulterated the Diksha guru. That's in an unadulterated way.
That's not my question. My question is, what is the adhikar of the Shiksha and Diksha guru?
The adhikar of the Shiksha and Diksha guru. Well,
are they kanistha, madhyam, or uttama adhikaris?
Uttama adhikaris. Yeah, they're Uttama adhikaris.
Oh, really? So Prabhupada said his disciples were Uttama adhikaris. In that May 28th conversation. Which one did he identify as an Uttama adhikari?
Well, he didn't exactly, but when you're this guru you're referring to as an Uttama adhikari,
you're saying that they become an Uttama adhikari when Prabhupada is gone. But you cannot just be. Do you think you just get whacked on the head with a sword like being knighted by Her Majesty the Queen, and that you then become an Uttama adhikari based on the guru dying?
You're speaking about Uttama adhikaris as Diksha gurus, but Prabhupada.
No, I'm talking about the you said and agreed the Diksha guru must be an Uttama adhikari.
Yeah, the Diksha guru, which is Prabhupada, that he must be an Uttama adhikari, but someone on his behalf, it stands to reason, because they're not. If they're not a fully fledged guru, then they.
Okay, then what is his technical category in Vaishnavism? What is that person acting on his behalf, but not on his qualifications what is that person's status? And how can he be called guru
I
when
guess
Prabhupada forbids
I
it?
mean, in the same way that like there's this thing about battlefield commissions, like a kanishta or a private is in the army is sometimes elevated to a sergeant or a madhyam or the position he's given the duties. He may be given the duties of a rank that he does not hold because he's because of a situation where there's nobody qualified to fill that role. So as you're saying, if there's no qualified uttam adhikaris to fulfill a role, Prabhupada could say, well, on my behalf, you become a you fulfill that duty, even though you may not be qualified, you fulfill that duty. And he can do that because he's the general. He can give that order. So he can say to them, you fulfill this duty for a time being because we have nobody else who's qualified. So you fulfill that, but he's in that thing. He still says it's on his behalf. So the authorization and the qualification is still all his, and it's his books where the instructions are going to be coming from. So there doesn't seem to be a problem with that.
Okay, looks like he muted himself.
Okay.
Let's just wait. Let's see what happens.
Sure. What do you think?
Okay, who can you hear me?
Yeah.
Where in Shastra did Prabhupada make that statement that you are saying in behalf of Prabhupada on your own without Prabhupada's authorization?
On your own? What do you mean on your own?
Where's your authority?
What? So you said on your own. On your own. What do you mean on?
Yes, you're making this up. Your distinction is
No,
something you're making up.
No,
yourself.
I'm hearing Prabhupada's words in the May 28th room conversation, and he said, "On my behalf, they will be your disciples, but you'll be their guru on my behalf. So any duty to the guru, it will be done on behalf of Prabhupada.
Whatever, but what do you realize that means exactly nothing?
No.
Because either Prabhupada is the guru or he isn't the guru.
No, because it would be the same with Ritvik. With the Ritvik initiators, they are doing something on his behalf. And
the Ritvik thing is blown out of proportion.
Well, okay, you don't like this word Ritvik. Officiating acharyas, they were doing. I'm simply referring to those people who sat and did a fire sacrifice and did those things. That was going on also, and they gave the beads. So they gave the beads and did a fire sacrifice. So that you were saying
was going on for a long time.
You were saying that somebody doing something. You were saying that somebody doing something on someone else's behalf means nothing, but it did mean something because they were doing it.
It means something if that person is present.
But he was asked specifically, how will it continue when he is not present?
Okay. And do you see any reason to believe that Prabhupada is not present?
When you are no longer with us. Yeah, okay, that's a fair point. You could take that to mean that, like, you could take it to mean that he's never not with us, therefore.
Yeah. Now, when Prabhupada said ISKCON is my body, do you think he was joking?
But he differentiated himself in that conversation. He said, "You do not become a guru in my presence." So he was saying in that conversation.
Why was he saying that to those people that were dying to become guru?
But he himself was saying that there's a time when he will not be present. So, like even Prabhupada was saying there's a time. So for practical,
why does he reject his own teaching in the Srimad Bhagavatam in that room conversation?
I mean, like even Prabhupada discriminated between Vani and Vapu, like so that there is like it's for practical purposes, we do have to say that there's not a physical presence of the spiritual master. Even he discriminated between Vani and Vapu, so it's not offensive to say that.
Do you really think that there is some need for a spiritual master?
The spiritual master means a fully fledged. A spiritual master means a fully fledged spiritual master, which isn't what we're not talking about. A fully fledged.
Let me ask you something. What does the spiritual master give you that you cannot get from some other source?
Transcendental liberation.
Really?
Well,
But you already have. Don't you already have transcendental liberation?
But love of God through transcendental liberation. No, it's the transcendental.
Yeah, don't you already have that? Do you, Prabhu? Don't you already have transcendental liberation? What did
I don't feel very I don't feel like I have much of anything, but I shouldn't really give witness of that of myself. But
have you heard the holy name of Krishna once, even? Have you heard the holy name of Krishna more than once?
That's well, I have, yeah, and I have heard it once, but you're saying that I will be.
Yeah. What did Prabhupada say?
He said that we will get. He said that we will get transcendental liberation if we hear it once.
No, he didn't. He said you. He said he didn't. That's not his words. He said you will go back to Godhead.
Okay.
If you hear the holy name once. The problem with the ISKCON gurus is they wanted to make the ISKCON into a Hindu religion with a succession coming after Prabhupada. Not necessary. Or happens to be the Hare Krishna mantra. Did you know that the Hare Krishna mantra, Prabhupada says, if you accept Prabhupada, that Prabhupada says that the Hare Krishna mantra is a Shaktivish avatar, which means it's like Parsuram or Varaha. The Hare Krishna mantra is an incarnation of Radha.
Oh yeah.
If you hear,
sorry, Prabhu, you're gonna have to repeat that because it broke up a bit.
You're cutting out. No, Prabhu, you're cutting out.
You're hearing Lord Chaitanya chanting. Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya. Oh, sorry.
You're cutting out. Yes.
Well, all I can say is I can hear myself. Can you not hear me?
Now it's better.
We can hear you now. Now we can hear you clearly.
Okay. So the Hare Krishna mantra is coming from Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Radharani. And Radharani's mood is to deliver all the fallen souls. The actual Guru Tattva from Prabhupada onward is simply the holy name of Krishna. You don't need a teacher to deliver it. You are going to. Do you understand that you are going back to Godhead? Can you hear me? Are you understanding that you're guaranteed that you're going to go back to Godhead?
Well, I know that God, if you follow God, you go to God. So it's a guarantee in that sense.
No. I'm talking about Prabhupada's statement that if you hear the Hare Krishna mantra once, what the speaker repeated, you are going to go back to Godhead. You're going to back to Godhead is assured. But as he said to me, it may take some time.
Okay,
everybody wants.
I accept. Yeah. Okay, but what's
Everybody wants some Christian salvation. You die and go to heaven. That's not how Krishna consciousness works. You don't die and go to heaven. you die, and you take another body based on the consciousness you're in when you die. If you take a guru, an ISKCON guru, and if he falls down, you get to go to the planet where he goes. You take
Okay,
a birth with you take a birth with the ISKCON guru
okay, but
because
how
he's
did
taking
we?
on your karma. Otherwise,
How,
if a guru doesn't take on your karma, what does he do?
okay, but how did we get here though? Because we were never discussing ISKCON gurus because they see themselves as fully fledged gurus, not gurus on Prabhupada's behalf, but fully fledged gurus. So
All
how do
gurus
we?
are Prabhupada was a guru on behalf of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
Hare Krishna.
No, because he wasn't.
That's
I
what he
mean,
said. That's how he referred to himself.
We got another devotee from
But-
India joining us. His name is Nityananda Prabhu. He wanted to make some comments, and go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare
That's
Krishna, devotees, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
Yeah, I'm hearing the conversation online. So I just want to, I don't know who's this other Prabhu that's here, as George, or what's his name?
Gregory.
Gregory.
Oh, Gregory,
Yeah.
sorry, Gregory.
Okay.
Prabhu,
Hare
so
Krishna,
yeah, first
Prabhu.
of all, Hare Krishna. First of all, we have to identify and we have to establish who is a bona fide guru. You know, I mean, the ISKCON
Yeah.
gurus can claim that they're gurus, but they claim, you know, it depends on the qualification, depends on one's characteristics. It just,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't accept anybody that claims to be a guru off the street. And just because they're wearing some saffron or because they get voted in or because they're self-appointed, that's not the way that the parampara works. The parampara works where one has to qualify themselves under a bona fide spiritual master. And as far as I'm aware, that all of the ISKCON gurus, every single one of them have disobeyed the orders of the spiritual master. And if they've disobeyed the order of the spiritual master, then that goes against the third offense against the holy name. And if one has committed the offense against the holy name, then one will never attain Shuddhanam, the pure chanting of the holy name. And if one cannot attain Shuddhanam, the pure chanting of the holy name, then they'll never be bona fide as a pure Uttamari.
Oh yeah, Prabhu. We weren't like I was not saying that the ISKCON system was ever bona fide because they became gurus and acharyas. Yeah, I was not saying that they were bona fide at all. I was saying that in the May 28th conversation, it seems that he was saying that they become guru on his behalf, like they would be giving instructions to people and having disciples, but not as that person's actual guru. But well, they would be their guru, but on behalf of Prabhupada, in the same way they were Ritvik on behalf of Prabhupada.
Yeah, but the Srila Prabhupada never ever gave that order. He said Srila Prabhupada said, on my order, you become guru. The Srila Prabhupada never ever gave that order. So by him saying on my order doesn't mean that I'm ordering you now. Srila Prabhupada on that, then we obviously go back to the 9th July letter where Srila Prabhupada gave or instructed or gave his order for 11 Radvikacharyas to initiate on his behalf.
But he said that is formality, because in my presence one should not become guru. So on my behalf, on my order. So that is formality, because in my presence one should not become guru. So, and then he finishes the sentence by saying, so on my behalf, on my order. And he's already told that, like, the nature of this conversation is, how will it continue when you're not present? And he is saying, not in my presence, but on my behalf, on my order, which is the nature of the conversation. So he's saying, when I'm not present, then you can. That's the nature of what that sentence seems to me when I'm hearing that.
So do you think that a room conversation supersedes an official letter signed by Srila Prabhupada?
This is the same. You mean the July 9th supersedes this, and this conversation is invalid?
No, I'm saying that that conversation. So I can be sitting with a guru in a room, and we can have a discussion on something. Whereas a publicly authorized letter for the world, for the whole of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, is authorized to conduct this type of initiation, Radvikacharya initiation. Whereas if you're sitting with the guru in a, in a close confinement, he's speaking to the consciousness of those in the room.
Mm.
Do you get my point? Do you understand? So that's basically what I am saying. And that was obviously before the, July comes after May. But Prabhupada never gave that order. Prabhupada says on my behalf. And Prabhupada would have instructed, if Srila Prabhupada wanted a guru to say, okay, you are the next guru of ISKCON, you're going to take over, Prabhupada would have said that.
But Prabhu, afterwards, Satrup said, so may also be considered your disciples. And he said, yes, they are disciples. Why consider? Who? So like when he says they are disciples, he's giving that order that they will become disciples. So
Did they
disciples
say that?
means guru. So people
sorry.
say that there's no order given, but there's lots of orders given in that conversation. But the ISKCON people took it to mean, oh, he's ordering us to become fully fledged gurus on our own, independent of Prabhupada. They took it to mean that. But there is orders that like they become guru, but he was only ordering that they become guru on his behalf, like a representative guru.
All gurus become guru on the behalf of the guru.
Yeah, but you could say that we do everything on behalf of Krishna, but practically there's no reason to specify if it's such a general thing that we do everything on behalf of Krishna. Like he was literally, he was saying it in a very specific way.
So Greg Prabhu, your definition of a Diksha Guru is an Uttam Adhikari, but you're saying that Prabhupada gave these so-called Ritvik Acharyas, or whatever you want to call them, some kind of conditional permit or something like this. Conditional permit that they are your disciples, but I am the Diksha Guru, and these conditional use gurus are not Uttam Adhikaris, but they're disciples of this conditioned soul guru. Is like confusing.
That the conditioned soul guru happens to be, in the case of Kirtananda, a practicing homosexual pedophile, and you take Tamal, who is giving arsenic poisoning to Srila Prabhupada. This is his qualification. So do you really consider?
But those material things are in the way. They're like obstacles. They're in the way.
Then how can that be?
One who is a Nartha.
Prabhupada says here that he says, who is initiating? Prabhupada says, Tamal says they're his disciple. Prabhupada says, who is initiating? His grand disciple. There's two different opinions over what that actually says in the tape. One is he is grand disciple, and the other one is his grand disciple. But Prabhupada is saying who is initiating? His grand disciple. So he like.
What does this mean to Gregory? Make it simple.
You have Prabhupada who's the initiator, and you do the disciple, and even though there's a material contamination in the way, which is these rascal people who deviated, the thing is diksha, the transcendental diksha coming from Prabhupada to the grand disciple, from the grandfather guru, that's not going to be interrupted even if these guru on behalf people deviate, because like transcendental means it goes right through them, it'll cut right through a material thing. So even if these people don't follow the instructions properly, and they like, the point is that Prabhupada is still getting something through to these people by the fact of transcendental cuts through material things.
Narayan Prabhu noticed a lot of that, and your logic of having an imperfect conditional use guru, they took a conditional use guru, and when the conditional use guru fell down, they should have taken shelter of Srila Prabhupada, but they did not. They left the movement. They became disheartened. They lost faith.
But can we not see that this is practically a replica of the Catholic Church and later the Lutheran Church, that you have the perfect Jesus, then after that you have a bunch of criminals who are doing their best to represent the perfect Jesus.
Mm.
And that's what you want. And you think that's what Prabhupada wanted.
Hmm. Well,
I mean, that's the way
I'm
I'm
not-
looking at it, Prabhu. I'm not sure how others are.
yeah,
Narayan Prabhu's seeing that
Yeah.
thing too. So
How many, when the July 9th letter was written, it's the earliest disciples, like Kirtanananda, they were only 12 years after were rescued from becoming cockroaches in their
11
next life.
11 or something, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Not thousands.
Right.
Mm.
So you're going to take people that were scum, that were doomed to take hellish births, and then you make them into the successor gurus without being residents of Krishna Loka.
Well, that's not in this example. In this example, they're not successor gurus. Prabhupada is still successful. Prabhupada
Why
is
do they
still,
need to do anything at all?
Prabhupada is still successful, but well, yeah,
Is
you could
there
have.
any reason
yeah.
why? Wait, is there any
Because
reason why why these men should not say, "I'm not qualified, and I am the servant of the people that want to take initiation in the future"?
But by that logic, there would be no need for even Ritvic initiations to continue in any way. No fire sacrifice, no beads, nothing.
No. There is.
You said why? You said the words. Why should they do anything at all? So if they weren't to do anything at all, then they could also not do the fire sacrifice and not give out beads.
What is the purpose of the fire sacrifice?
It's to ceremoniously induct that person into Krishna consciousness on behalf of not on behalf. If the person is doing it themselves, it's to represent that person coming to Krishna consciousness and taking Harinam initiation.
It's sort of like the baptism of the Catholic Church.
Yeah. So.
And it enables you to live in a temple. It formalizes your relationship to the Kanistha Adhikari platform, and it gives you a launching pad to become, at some point, a Brahmin initiated so that you can worship the deity and cook in the kitchen. Now, it doesn't require a pure devotee personally present or a representative of the pure devotee personally present to accomplish. It can be accomplished by the temple commander.
Oh, so you're saying the temple commander can give Harinam and second initiations?
If he has it himself, yeah. Why not?
Okay. But the initiation, well, you mean on behalf of Prabhupada?
Yes.
On the behalf of Lord Chaitanya, why Prabhupada?
Yes.
Prabhupada did not do on his own behalf. He did on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, everyone is doing on behalf of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, interestingly, ended religion as we know it, as it is historically practiced. That means Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and all the others too, Buddhism and Baha'i and all of them.
Krishna.
Lord Chaitanya ended Hinduism because Hinduism has no origin at all. It was created by the Muslims.
Nityananda Prabhu, you had a question?
I just have a question. So, like for me, it's difficult to understand like how these devotees actually take all of these gurus as bona fide spiritual masters, right? Or they don't accept the Ritvic initiation process that Prabhupada instructed and ordered. Because for me, is they can instruct, they can understand and take Prabhupada's instruction that Prabhupada says, okay, fine, from 64 rounds, now you can chant 16 rounds, because due to time, place, and circumstance. but they can't accept the instruction where Prabhupada says now, accept Ridvik initiation for the next 10,000 years or whatever, accept Ridvik initiation. So how can you accept one order from Prabhupada, but not another order? Why do these devotees, why do people pick and choose what they want to accept instead of just following the orders of the spiritual master, what he wanted to please him?
That's good. But it should be understood that in Kali Yuga, everyone that adheres to Hare Krishna mantra is going to go back to Godhead. Do we agree on that point?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, with or without initiation. Hearing the
eventually,
Hare Krishna mantra, essentially, if you hear the Hare Krishna mantra, that is your initiation.
Yes,
because
and sometimes it might take millions of births, but it depends. Yes, so eventually, yes, once one hears Hare Krishna Maha mantra, eventually they're on the path to Goloka Vrindavan. They're on the path back home to Vaikuntha. They're on the path.
Yeah, and what the question is, people say, "Oh, good, I chant Hare Krishna." People want to take initiation and then imagine that because they've taken on an ISKCON guru or something like that, that when they die, they will go to Krishna Loka. That's not good. That is not going to happen.
Yes. Prabhu, I also have another question. Like regarding these politics in ISKCON. So these gurus, so they say to their disciples, listen here, now you got second initiation, now you got Brahman initiation, I'm going to give you Gopal mantra, or whatever other mantra, Kama Gayatri mantra, or Brahman mantra. So now you're going to progress quicker. And you need this mantra to get into Golokadam or to identify your eternal Swarup. Which for me, I told them, like, I mean, if your guru doesn't even know his own, Swarup Shakti, his own eternal form, how can he even tell you what yours is? And what is the valid, and what is the potency of that mantra that he's giving you, of that Brahman mantra, of that Gayatri mantra? What is the potency if he's already fallen down, if he's already disobeyed the order of the spiritual master?
Right. So that there's no independent potency. The purpose, the spiritual master, like Prabhupada, knows what your relationship with Krishna is in the spiritual sky. He's aware because he is a liberated soul. He is in his rasa with Krishna. And in fact, Krishna sent him here. I don't think that can be said of any ISKCON guru that Krishna sent them there to become to deliver the fallen souls.
Yes.
And they don't even know what delivering the fallen souls would be like, for the simple reason that they don't realize that all the people have to do is hear the Hare Krishna mantra once, and that is their initiation. After that, they have to practice delivering the holy name to the other creatures, jivas. And if you deliver other jivas, the more jivas you chant to, the more rapidly you will go back to Godhead. But people are so unbelievably and unmistakably selfish that they want to go back to Godhead to hell with everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so you chant and chant and chant. You can chant 64 rounds in a dark room, but that doesn't mean you're going to go back to Godhead more quickly. In fact, it will slow you down compared to some child who hears the Hare Krishna mantra and runs out and starts chanting to the mice and the snails and the birds.
Yes.
He will go back to Godhead sooner because he is delivering other jivas. The Hare Krishna mantra means delivering others, not just me. If you hear it once, you're delivered.
Yes.
That's the point. If you're already delivered by hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, and nobody will join in ISKCON temple unless they've heard the Hare Krishna mantra. So they joined already. They don't need a guru because they've already been given that which the guru gives, which is deliverance from repeated birth and death.
So Prabhu, they say that their second initiation, their Gayatri mantra is more powerful now. And that's there because they have to go for this name, fame, woman involved. So they get the second initiation now. And they say that they got the Gayatri mantra, they Brahman, they got this thread, this 2 cents thread. And they said that they're going to make rapid advancement quicker than a person that's just chanting the Maha Mantra. When I explain to them, like the Maha Mantra is so, that's why it's called the greatest mantra, because it supersedes everything else. You can chant other stuff, it will help, but the Maha Mantra is so great that by simply one chanting, you can make progress of everything. It's all the
Yeah.
mantras are contained in that one mantra.
But it is. And that's very excellent. But then the fire sacrifice, to become initiated by Prabhupada, because if you remember of ISKCON, what you're really initiated by Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body, and Prabhupada's body is transcendental. So if Prabhupada says ISKCON is my body, if you are given the so-called Harinam initiation in a ISKCON temple or any temple, by someone who's giving it to you on behalf of Prabhupada's, so that you can be a devotee, so that your sins will be burned up, so that Prabhupada will accept your karma. Then when you take the Brahmin initiation, the second initiation, that's so that you can become a pujari and a cook. And then if you take sannyas, that's another one. And if you get married, that's another initiation. You're making vows.
Yes.
For Diksha, you make a vow to follow the regulated principles and chant 16 rounds.
So Prabhu, what about those that are not initiated, even with Diksha, but they're following Srila Prabhupada's orders and following Srila Prabhupada's instructions, but they do not have Diksha initiation because they don't believe that there is a qualified Brahman to perform the Diksha, as they believe that the 11 initiate or the 11 appointed Ridvikacharyas obviously disobey the orders of the spiritual master. So they want to take initiation, but they can't because they don't believe that anybody is qualified, Brahmanical qualified to do that.
Well,
yagya or
Prabhupada
that
is bona
fire
fide.
sacrifice.
Whoever takes initiation by a person like in Los Angeles,
Yes.
we have a devotee named Rabindranath.
Mhm.
He performs all the Shraddha ceremonies. The
Yes.
increasing number of people that die, the ISKCON Prabhupada disciples that are dying,
Yes.
we have a sacrifice. There's an Anaprasana ceremony for children. When they reach 4 months old, they can pick the books or the coins. There's
Yes.
the wedding ceremony, these are essentially the same mantras. Then there's the Diksha mantra, Diksha initiation, same mantras, sannyas essentially same, and Brahman initiation essentially same. This is to bring you into the aura or the protection or at the lotus feet of Prabhupada, who ISKCON is Prabhupada. That people try to turn it into a business, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and the harmonist has said typically happens when the pure devotee leaves. A bunch of scoundrels take over that you couldn't even believe could walk in the front door, and then they claim to be the next acharya.
So I just got another question here as well, because I got a few questions from a few students.
So
of
we
mine that
shouldn't
I've
be so
asked to, but-
innocent,
Yes.
or shall I
Another
say
question.
naive.
Yes, Prabhu.
Everything
so I got-
Prabhupada set up can be done without Diksha gurus being personally present.
Yes.
Don't need them. Prabhupada, the Ritvik idea is that Prabhupada is the Diksha guru, and the Ritvik is the priest who performs the fire sacrifice. And that can continue right now.
Then why didn't Prabhupada say, oh no, this July 9th is, why did he witness that? Why didn't he say that, like, okay, any temple president can give initiation from now on?
Because because the July 9th letter had nothing to do with what Prabhupada wanted.
Well, why didn't Prabhupada then leave an instruction and say, all right, everyone can give
Because
initiation if they're a temple president?
The July 9th letter, if I may say, the July 9th letter served a purpose for Srila Prabhupada. And that is, there were 11 GBC zones at that time. And guess what? Those 11 GBC zones became the 11 Ritviks. If Prabhupada had let them loose without creating, allowing the July 9th letter to go into place, the minute he was gone, they would, each one would declare his zone to be his spiritual kingdom, and ISKCON would have been broken into 11 pieces and eventually into smaller pieces than that. You see, Prabhupada's plan with the July 9th letter was pragmatic. He wanted to keep the movement together. So what do? There's an old saying, English saying, I think, honor amongst thieves. So he created, the July 9th letter is to create honor amongst thieves. They all wanted to become gurus. It was transparent. And when they became Ritviks, they didn't initiate anybody. The whole purpose of the Ritvik was to initiate all the backlog of the Prabhupada disciples. People wanted to become initiated by Prabhupada. They argued, oh, Prabhupada, you're too ill to do that. You shouldn't initiate. Their hope was that they would inherit 2,000 people that wanted to be initiated by Prabhupada. That's what they were hoping. But Prabhupada said, no, I will make you into representatives of the Acharya. And Tamal, learning this from Narayan Maharaj, said, oh, you mean Ritviks? Isn't that the same thing? And Prabhupada said, yes. So after that, Tamal ran with the term Ritvik because the term Ritvik had never been heard by anybody in ISKCON before. So they would all think, wow, Prabhupada came up with a magical new category called Ritvik, which is completely different than what we were doing before. The actual fact, it wasn't different. The temple presidents were performing the fire sacrifices for since 1970. You know, anytime Prabhupada was outside of a temple, people would send the beads to Prabhupada. He would chant on them and then send them back to the candidate who wanted to be initiated. And then the temple president was supposed to perform the jagya, the fire. Whoever performs the fire sacrifice in one category or by one calculation can be called a Ritvik, because a Ritvik is a person who performs the fire sacrifice on behalf of the person who is doing the actual initiation. So that was going on. Hansaduta told me when he was in Germany that he didn't like doing the sacrifices very much, so he had his temple commander do them. So Hansaduta was designated to be the Ritvik to perform the initiations in behalf of Prabhupada, but he didn't want to do it, so he created his own Ritvik to do the fire sacrifice because he didn't want to do it. So that's the big deal about Ritvik. Ritvik simply means he does the sacred fire. We shouldn't make it into too woo-woo. It shouldn't be too magical sounding. It is the formality by which, you know, in the prayer, abovitra, bovitrava, whether purified or unpurified. You see, whether you're purified or unpurified, you will become, sins will be burned up in the sacred fire. Meaning that Krishna, through Prabhupada, accepts the sins. If some guy is an ordinary guy in an ISKCON temple and he does that, well, the sins will definitely go to him, won't they? He performs the fires of Bovitra, Bovitrava. He takes on the sins of the disciples. To give you an example of that idea that it's not like magical transfer to Prabhupada, is Prabhupada was asked if the person doing the fire sacrifice, that's where the karma is of the disciple is burned up. Did you initiate? His karma is burned up in the fire sacrifice. Yes, okay. So he said, Prabhupada, he said to Prabhupada, so does that mean that the person doing that sacrifice, that's before the word Ritvik existed, but the pujari, that the person performing the fire sacrifice, does he take on some of the karma? Meaning, we're doing this on behalf of you, Srila Prabhupada, so you're taking on the karma. But does the guy performing the sacrifice take on some of the karma? And Prabhupada looked at him, his eyes got large. And you have to take it, he was sort of tweaking him a bit. He said, some? He said, some. So he hinted that the pujari who did that would be taking on a chunk of the karma, some of it. Now, when he said some, meaning that why not all the karma, he was joking. He was just teasing, because that's not the purpose of the Ritvik, to take on all the karma. But does the Ritvik take on some of the karma by being willing to handle the karma through the Agnihotra? Well, of course. He's touching the fire, touching the bananas, touching the wood, touching the ghee, touching the rice. He is involved in the process. Therefore, he does take on some karma, but because he's doing it in behalf of Prabhupada, Prabhupada then accepts the karma of the pujari also. If the pujari is not a rascal, if the initiation is not a rascal initiation. So that's the way Prabhupada designed it to work, and it works beautifully and perfectly that way. And all these other concepts about this guru, that guru, not necessary, because, okay, to get back to July 9th, Prabhupada knew full well, first of all, that they were poisoning him. Second of all, that they were going to plan to take over the movement and divide it up into 11 zones. So he named all the people that were GBC of those zones to take on to become the Ritviks. And then he knew they were not going to, of all the maybe 1,500, 2,000 people waiting for initiation, how many were initiated by Ritviks in behalf of Prabhupada? Does anyone know? Are you there?
No, I have no idea.
Do you know how many were initiated by the Ritviks? As Ritviks? Can you hear? Hello?
Hare Krishna.
Can
you hear me, Prabhu? I can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear you.
Okay,
but I'm
good.
not sure about everyone else. But yeah, I can hear you. And my answer, well, I do not know. About,
Is everyone still
how
on
many.
board?
I think Gregory is here, and then Ramachandra
Okay.
is just
So
on
as
mute.
far as I know, they didn't
Yeah.
initiate anyone in behalf of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Why? They were doing
Yeah.
to declare themselves successor gurus on their
Yeah.
own without Prabhupada's permission or instruction, consent, what to speak of written instruction.
Yes.
Prabhupada never designated anyone to be successor guru, ever.
Yes.
Harry
In
Box.
writing or formally, he never did. So
Yeah.
Prabhupada knew they were going to do that. And he actually said to the Sridhar Maharaj, who had already destroyed the Gaudiya Math by bringing Ananta, what is the name? Ananta Vasudeva to be the Acharya of the Gaudiya Math, which failed miserably when he turned out to
Yes.
commit suicide, was a homosexual. His wife committed suicide, and his son threatened to expose everybody to the crimes they were committing. So they committed suicide.
Prabhu, I have a
That was
question.
Sridhar's great contribution to the Gaudiya Math.
Yeah. Prabhu,
When
I
Prabhupada
have a
had not
question.
wanted it, he wanted, Bhaktisiddhanta wanted a GBC, just like Prabhupada wanted a GBC. So anyhow, I don't want to get carried away, but Prabhupada
Yeah.
knew they were going to declare themselves gurus, and they claimed they were going to initiate in his behalf. But when Prabhupada left, there were well over 1,000 people waiting for initiation. So the so-called Ritvik said, we're successor gurus now. That's what Prabhupada wanted. And now we're going to initiate all of you as our disciples. So that's the sacrifice. Prabhupada said for them to become Ritviks and initiate in his behalf, but they didn't do it. They kept them there because otherwise, what would you do? Prabhupada leaves, these top guys there, Ritviks or whatever, in the July 9th letter, they go out and say, we're the successor gurus. And guess what? Everyone would say, says who? Where did Prabhupada say that? Where did he write that?
I have a question for Nityananda Prabhu and for Narayan Prabhu, but Nityananda, sorry, you said that you had a question first, so.
Yes, I have a question. So Prabhu, I have a question. So one of my students asked me, before initiation, right? One is to, so because Prabhupada is not physically present, and obviously, how does one, as a student of Bhakti Yoga that's coming into Krishna consciousness, get to test the Guru, and how does the Guru test the disciple? Because it is mentioned that the Guru should test the disciple, and the disciple should test the Guru for at least 1 year before this transitional acceptance of Diksha,
Well,
of
yes,
receiving Diksha.
but when it came to Prabhupada, people didn't test Prabhupada for a year.
Yes, but now, like what do people do now? What do people aspiring Krishna consciousness do now? How do they test, and how do they become tested?
They should test Prabhupada for a year and forget that those guys sitting on their Roma Harshanasans are not actually gurus.
And then how will they be tested? As it's also mentioned that the Guru tests the disciple.
Well, how about reading Prabhupada's books?
Yes.
They can become Bhakti Shastra, Bhakti by Baba. Then Prabhupada left a whole system how to make advancement. You don't have to have a guru who never read all of Prabhupada's books, by the way.
Exactly.
What about
Go ahead.
Oh, what about the opposite side of that? How are they tested?
Who?
I think it's their sincerity.
The people who are taking initiation, if they test Prabhupada by reading his books for a year, which usually naturally happens anyway, then how are they in reverse? How are they tested by, like, do you believe there should be, like, some temple presidents and things will observe people for 6 months or so? The Shastra says a few years, isn't it? Like, does the Shastra say
1 year? 1 year.
Not at all.
1 year. Oh,
a few months, because if you study Prabhupada's writing as much as you can, and then you take the Bhakti Shastri test, if you can pass the Bhakti Shastri test, then you can be initiated.
Yeah.
Was this Bhakti Shastri going on even in Prabhupada's time?
Yeah. He created it in 1969.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I took both. I took two of them. I don't know about the third one. I took Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti by Baba, I think. What's the third one? Anyhow, it doesn't matter. But they're still teaching those 3 levels. That's what distinguishes you intellectually, and as a spiritual seeker, you accept the terms of engagement, meaning like war, or the terms are that you accept Prabhupada's books, you study them, you read them, and you can answer questions from them, meaning that you've accepted the answers. If you don't accept the answers, then you can't take initiation.
What about the 9 devotional processes, Prabhu? Like, obviously, if a student or a devotee is banned from ISKCON, for example, now they don't have a temp. I said, what about the 9 devotional processes? Like, okay, I'll just say like Archaman and that, like, so devotional service. You have to offer some type of service, or is it just?
Well, that's for everything that we know about ISKCON is for the Kanista Adhikari. And you know the 3 distinctions, right? Kanista, Madhyam, Uttama.
Madhyam and Uttama, yes.
Yeah, Madhyam is a transfer. You know who was the Madhyam Adhikari in the Shastra? Was like man that was meditating on cooking sweet rice for the deity.
Yes.
And then in the whole process, he burned his finger. He was just sitting under a tree. But in his mind, he was at a temple. He was cooking at a stove. He was cooking. The deity was there. He was completely wrapped up in it.
Yes.
But it wasn't really there. It was an imagination. So that was a Madhyamadikari person coming to the point of reaching the point where Krishna thought he would give him a little bit of a hint, is you're going the right direction. Look at your finger. You put it in the imaginary sweet rice, and now it is really burned.
Yes.
So this is the nice thing about Krishna, very, very interactive. It's very different than the way they teach it. Everything in ISKCON is the way if you read Prabhupada's books, unchanged ones preferably, you'll make advancement. If you
Yes.
listen
From
to
my
the way they talk
experience,
about it,
that's
all
how,
that stuff, you'll simply get trapped into a religion.
yeah. From my experience, that's how Krishna reciprocates accordingly, as he states in the Bhagavad Gita. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I will
Krishna does
assure you
reciprocate.
that when I was initiated in September 20th, 1968, I was in Los Angeles Temple in 1969 studying Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti by Baba. And during that time, nobody thought of adding or subtracting to anything that Prabhupada said.
Yes.
You just accepted it. What did Prabhupada say? Good, we do it. End of story.
Mm.
It wasn't like, well, Prabhupada said this, but we say that, and there's another Shastra. And this. That is all rascaldom. It could be as simple as that.
Mm.
Prabhupada
Mm.
is the guru. He'll be the guru for the next 10,000 years. Why?
So
Because look,
Prab-
let's be realistic. If you're a Hindu and you practice all the Hindu stuff and you want the demigods to give you money and to give your children education and good parents, good wives and husbands and whatnot, you can want all of that from your Hindu religion. But what if you go to the bottom line of Hindu? Don't you want mukti? Don't you expect the Hindu religion will give you mukti? Is that right?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Isn't that the bottom line? After all the nice cooking is done, and after the wives are gotten, and after the children are conceived, and after the business thrives, and all that, don't you want mukti? And when you die, right? Isn't that? I'm not a Hindu per se. I've certainly lived with plenty of people that consider themselves Hindus, but isn't that basically the Hindu idea, the basic concept?
so
Yeah, that's the concept of the Hindu culture. Yes.
Yes. So Lord Chaitanya came to destroy Hindus, Christians, Muslims, and everything. Destroy their religion because Namo Mahabharadaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gorti Shedwal. He broke open the storehouse of love of God. So what the hell do all these priests, rabbis, imams, rabbis, and all these people, what have they got to offer if the very thing they're clutching in their greedy little dirty hands, often non-vegetarian hands, their greasy little hands that they worship with their boots on, what do they have in that greasy hand that hasn't been given freely by Lord Chaitanya at the beginning, before you even say, oh, I want to become a Christian? Did you hear the Hare Krishna mantra? Yeah. Well, there's nothing more I can offer you than that. Why? Because Jesus came to teach pure, unalloyed love of God. And all I can do is hold off on your salvation if you give me money and you come to the church and you obey everything we say and go to war and kill people in our name of Jesus. You could get the benefit of going to heaven, meaning Swargaloka, which is still in the material universe, although there are angels with wings and halos and whatnot. But leaving that aside, he said, did you hear the Hare Krishna mantra, says the Catholic priest or the rabbi or the imam? Yes. Well, that's the bottom line. That's everything. The Shakti Visham, it's the Hare Krishna mantra is them, the Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada calls the Raha mantra Shaktivish avatar. That means the mantra is a deity.
Yeah.
Like Parsaram, like Varaha. All of these deities, Dasa avatar, those are avatars, Shaktivish avatars. So the Maha Mantra is an avatar. So if you accept the Hare Krishna mantra, you can take it to the Catholic Church and say, Father, what can I offer you? What can you offer me if I become a Catholic? And he can say, oh, my son, I can give you salvation. But I have salvation. I'm going back to Godhead. I'm going back to Jesus' kingdom of God, what he was talking about, not where he ended up. And in the Maha Mantra, then the priest has to say, if that's true, then I have nothing to offer you. So what I'm going to point out is there's nothing that an ISKCON guru can offer you that you haven't already received by hearing the Hare Krishna mantra from Prabhupada.
Mm.
But you can say, well, I heard it from some guy in the street. Yeah, but I walked into the temple, they were playing a Prabhupada tape. Okay, then you heard it from Prabhupada.
Mm.
Okay, maybe where's the hard part? You heard it from Prabhupada. You're going back to Godhead. Wait, but Prabhupada was just one guy from India. So he lived in Calcutta. He was married, had kids. No, don't kid yourself. He was a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta, was a disciple of Gorkashore, who was a disciple of Bhakti Vinod, and they are the disciple of Lord Chaitanya, Radha, and Krishna. They're the ones that have brought the Mahamantra. Lord Chaitanya, by chanting, when Prabhupada chanted, it was Lord Chaitanya's voice coming through his mouth. Say that of any ISKCON guru. Mostly they howl. Lord Chaitanya's voice came through the mouth of the pure devotee. That's why you don't need anybody else. If you want to study Prabhupada's books, well, when I came into the movement, if I may say so, Vishnu John, you've heard of Vishnu John?
Definitely,
Anybody?
yes.
Okay,
Yes, Prabhu.
he had joined 6 months, 8 months before I did. He was my senior godbrother.
My hero.
Can you imagine? And I sat down and they said, well, what books? I wanted to study the Bhagavad Gita, but it wasn't
Yes.
published for another year and a half after I became a devotee. And I was totally frustrated because all I wanted to do was study Bhagavad Gita. Because I'd read a non-Prabhupada Gita, had questions and no one could answer them. So anyhow, I asked from Vishnu John, what is it that we study here in this ISKCON temple? I like everything about it. It seems that Prabhupada is a liberated soul. What do we study? And he picked up a book that Prabhupada had brought on the Jaladuta in a sort of a rusty red cover. And he said, looking at me wisely, as only a senior godbrother could look at me, and said, we study the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the way he said it. The Srimad Bhagavatam. I said, really? The Srimad Bhagavatam? He didn't know how to pronounce Srimad Bhagavatam. He was my senior godbrother. He was my guide into Krishna consciousness teachings. So then I said, well, what does Srimad Bhagavatam say? He flipped open the books and he pointed to a picture of Vishnu lying in the console ocean. And he said, there's the Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu, the Mahavai Vishnu, the Kirodaka Shayi Vishnu. That's how he said it. And I learned it from him. Do you see? That's what it takes to be a guru in ISKCON. He was my guru, as it were. He was teaching me what I did not know. So everybody says, well, you need an ISKCON guru, you need a Diksha guru to do what? Said, okay, Diksha guru, now what are you going to do? What am I going to learn from you? Well, I'm going to preach to you from the Srimad Bhagavatam. You see the absurdity of it? So anybody who's been there before you can teach you what you don't know that he does know. That's the way it was. In the 6 months, it would take 6 months to be ready to open a new temple when you joined. You joined, take initiation, take second initiation after 6 months. You already knew how to cook, how to play harmonium, how to play kartals, how to read from the Shastras. You knew how to pronounce the Sanskrit. Less than a year, 6 months, 8 months, like that. Then, what are you doing here? Just sitting around taking up space, eating prasadam and sleeping? No, go open a temple. 6 months. And guess what people did? They didn't know that they weren't qualified, so they went and opened temples, most of which are still open.
So, Prabhu, what happened to all the devotees that actually, after Prabhupada left, I know all of you god brothers and god sisters. What happened to most of
What
them?
happened to
Because
what happened to my god brothers? You mean?
yeah, the god brothers and god sisters, they were disheartened after this whole
Oh well.
this people that's left. I mean, they took over, and they,
May
obviously
I
they
quote?
didn't agree.
May I quote my god brother Rameshwar, who became a
Yes.
guru? What he told me after he became a guru.
Yeah.
He always saw me as a sort of a wise man, so he always
Mm.
wanted to confide in me. But sometimes the things he said gave me the absolute creeps.
Yeah.
So what he said to me, and we were standing on the
Mm.
lawn at the Los Angeles temple. He
Mm.
said, Narayan, you know, Prabhupada had so many god brothers, envious god brothers. And now that I'm a guru and I have a couple of hundred disciples, I'm worried that my god brothers, like you, and didn't say like me, but my god brothers will be envious. And so they will turn my disciples against me.
Mm.
So I said to him, well, what do you think is the best thing to do then? He said, well, I'm hoping that 95% of my god brothers will leave ISKCON. Go back.
Mm.
Because then they can't preach against me.
It means like it
He
sounds like the
actually said
demons.
that.
Yeah. It's bad. That is very, very bad. It sounds like the demons from the pastime where Mohini Murti, where the churning of the ocean. You know,
Oh,
where
no,
the bigger
he
demons.
was one of the 11 chosen Ritviks.
Very,
We
very
have to
bad.
accept him as a Ritvik. Prabhupada said.
But he
He
never
was one of the
the
11.
But he never do the
And they were all
initiation of
like
the
that. They didn't want Prabhupada disciples around because they wanted to be the successor gurus kidnapping Prabhupada's temples.
So what happens to all of these devotees now, these disciples now that have taken initiation from all of these bogus guru or whatever, these people, not even the gurus, but these bogus people that are pretending to be gurus? What happens to all of the disciples now? They are going to hell with the gurus? You're going to follow
basically,
them
yeah, but some of them have gone through 2 or 3 gurus already.
Yeah.
A lot of them, I had a temple in Los Angeles, a Prabhupada temple, and they would come, 50 people would come, I have monthly programs, 50, 60 people would come, and I would preach, and they all began to accept Prabhupada as their guru again.
Yes. So even if one falls away from their guru, so if one finally realizes that the guru is bogus, then the best thing is that they take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and ask for
the thing is,
they have to do an opposite yagya. Because I know in Hari Bhakti Vilas it says that one has to do an opposite and equal, because for every action there's an opposite. I mean, there's a reaction.
Say that again. Say Hari Bhakti Vilas. Say that again.
So in Hari Bhakti Vilas, it says that when one takes initiation, right, from a bogus guru and one finds out, they'll have to obviously do something opposite, or basically go in public and denounce their guru in public in front of the deities, what they've originally done. Just to get initiated.
The problem is that they were all equally disciples of Prabhupada.
Yes.
In New Dwarka, there was like 300-400 devotees living there at that time. Now there's just a handful. But at that time, there was 300 or 400 devotees. When one of them became a guru, he was someone that we all knew and loved. He was our beloved godbrother. He was doing so much work with Prabhupada on publishing the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was in charge of publishing the BBT. He was in charge of publishing Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam. I was working under Rameshwar as the art director. I designed all the pictures for the Srimad Bhagavatams from the 5th canto to the 10th canto. So we all loved our godbrothers, even though they became gurus. But then at one point, they told me that Rameshwar was a pure devotee on the same level as Srila Prabhupada. The artist did at the art department. And I told them, no, Rameshwar is a very great devotee, and he's doing wonderful service for Prabhupada. This is after Prabhupada, 1980, after Prabhupada was entered Samadhi. I said, he's a very wonderful devotee. He's a great devotee, but he's not a pure devotee of the same level as Srila Prabhupada. So the artists all ran off to Rameshwar saying Narayana is blaspheming you. He has said you're not, we said you're a pure devotee on the same level as Prabhupada. He said you're a great devotee, but you're not on the same level as Prabhupada. What should we do? We want to kick him out of the leadership of the art department. 1980. We want him no longer be the director of the artists. And Rameshwar said, well, it's sad, it's his service, but you better do what you feel you have to do. That's what Rameshwar's exact words were. I have a photographic memory, by the way, sometimes. And so they came and they had kicked me out, but they were so intimidated, they didn't tell me that I'd been kicked out. I kept on doing my job for a month after I was kicked out, and they didn't dare say anything to me that I was kicked out of the art department because I had blasphemed the pure devotee of the Lord. Do you see the psychology? But then again, we were all malachas. Who were we? We were nobodies. 1980, in 1970 is 5 years after Prabhupada. 1980 is, and that's 15 years after Prabhupada, right? Isn't it? So 1965 to 75 is 10 years. 5 more, 15 years. So 15 years after we first devotees, after Prabhupada came to America, 15 years later, we have got people that are claiming to be gurus on the same level as Prabhupada. Can you imagine? So it's for you, in a sense, because you have the backing of, hundreds, thousands of years actually of Varnashram Dharma, the Bharat Svarsa, and after the Muslims came, they destroyed Bharat. They destroyed everything, because otherwise, how did they get past the Kshatriyas? How did the Mughals get into India if there were Kshatriyas and Brahmins? So they did that, and then they took all the worshippers and turned them into what they called Hindus, which was an insult to the Sanatana Dharma, is who they were. They called them Hindus just to insult them on the other side of the Indus River. They couldn't even pronounce S for Sindhu, so they said Hindu because they couldn't say S. So then they created the Hindu religion. The Muslims created it. And Lord Chaitanya came and destroyed all the religions. Because if you give away the goal, the objective, the outcome of religion, then what do you need religion for? And let me now add, if when you hear the Hare Krishna mantra, it makes you want to become a devotee and join ISKCON, why do you need a guru, considering the Mahamantra is Krishna himself, and you are already, by hearing it, Prabhupada said, you're going to go back to Godhead. But you have to cleanse yourself first. You're going back to Godhead, you're in the process, but it may take some time. You have to complete the Kinestadikari platform, get to the Madhyamadikari platform, zoom up to the top floor, developing pure unalloyed love for Krishna in the process, get off the top floor, which is Krishna Loka. You are worshiping Krishna at that level, but you cannot see him. He can see you, but you cannot see him. And then when your worship of Krishna is so perfect that he wants you with him, next to him, then the curtain of Maya, Prabhupada said, rolls up. You come under the protection of Yoga Maya, and you can see Krishna face to face. At that point, you could become a Diksha Guru, but not before. You get the point? You've been cheated. Hello, are you there? Hello?
Very well, yeah. Nityananda Prabhu, I think.
Could you
Prabhu's-
gentlemen, could you Prabhus hear what I was saying?
Yeah, we can hear what you're saying, Prabhu.
Okay. So
Well, I
we've been
can.
cheated.
Is Ronald there?
The Indian population was cheated by the Muslims by creating Hindus instead of Sanatana Dharma. So Hindus broke away and began worshiping individual demigods, which were part of the whole the whole Bharat had demigod worship as part of the whole structure of Varnashram Dharma. But that was to help the Vishnu worship. It was all the demigods are worshippers of Vishnu anyhow. And Shiva is a partial incarnation of Vishnu. So worshiping him separately was a trick perpetrated by the Muslims. So Chaitanya gave the destroyal of that by giving us
I think
the end result.
Nityananda Prabhu was the one who asked you the question, but he's gone now at the moment. So
Oh, he is?
yeah, he is. Yeah,
He's gone for the evening, or he's gone?
I don't know. I just noticed he's not in
Well,
the chat.
why not
anymore.
ask Ramachandra?
Yeah, Ramachandra. I don't know. Ramachandra, are you there? I think he might have left us as well. He's muted. So,
Ramachandra!
yeah.
Well, it's just you and me, eh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was the question I was going to ask to you and
Please.
Nityananda. Yeah, when he was here, I was going to ask you and Nityananda. Do you like? I mean, you've answered this already. You've answered part of it. But is it that do you believe there should be a system where where people they take initiation by the temple president or some ritvik, and then they have a shiksha guru, and that shiksha guru is there.
Shiksha guru has to be a pure devotee of the Lord in his rasa with Krishna.
Yeah. So, but my question is, do you believe there should be a system where people have?
Well, where are you going to find the shiksha guru?
The
shiksha guru is just as hard to find as the diksha guru.
Yeah, but the principle is the same. So, do you believe there should be a system?
You can't have the system without the person. Remember, I just said that when you come up to become the Uttama Adhikari, then you can become a guru, ISKCON guru, but not before.
So it does say that Shiksha should be liberated person. So
he has to be not just liberated; he has to be in his rasa with Krishna.
So are Madhyamadhikaris liberated? Sorry, I don't know.
They're in the process.
So no is the answer to
not
that.
Entirely, no. They're
not liberated. Okay. So
no, because the Madhyamadhikari is gradually coming into spiritual contact with Krishna, but he's still in his material consciousness. So if he's fanning Krishna, he has to give up fanning Krishna the way he would fan the deity, because the deity is a different worship, just like worshiping Vishnu, in the mood of Vishnu, Prabhupada said. So when he's fanning real Krishna, Krishna won't like it. It will not please him at all. So Lord Paramatma, or Vishnu in the heart, helps guide the Madhyamadhikari to fan differently than when he's a pujari, as a Kanishta Adhikari pujari in the temple. He becomes outside of that. He begins to fan Krishna in a way that Krishna will at least not be displeased, and where he can begin to be pleased, when he begins to enjoy and relish the devotion that you're giving to him personally, not to the Vishnu worship of the deity in the temple. So you see, so when that is a 10%, then you're 10% spiritual Uttamadhikari. When it's 50%, then you're 50% Adhikari and 50% not. When you keep going in the Madhyamadhikari platform, once you're 10% Uttama Adhikari, then Krishna takes away the curtain of Maya, the dark curtain that we call the universe or nighttime. And then you can see Krishna face to face.
Yeah, the reason I was asking you that question is the question inside that question, so to speak, will be that do you believe that the only system for people then at the moment accepting discipline is to discipline themselves? essentially not discipline them, to
Well,
discipline themselves to accept discipline from Prabhupada through his
not
books.
necessarily, because the Kanistadhikaris, if you take them into a big enough dimension, could actually have kings, kshatriyas, brahmins, everything. And you could follow the rules that the Varnashram Dharma establishes for you. You know, but for us,
that's material discipline, though. When you talk of kings, that's laws and things
okay,
like that.
yeah.
No,
And
no,
what do you think?
I meant spiritual discipline. Like, to make advancement in Krishna consciousness requires discipline. So that discipline, like, if you have a guru, like when Prabhupada was with you, you had a guru who would keep discipline, and he would make sure you made spiritual advancement this way. But
the guru may not have the qualification.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
I do not know an ISKCON
there was an
guru
advantage
who
to
has the
having Prabhupada.
qualification.
There was an advantage to having Prabhupada present with all of you, that he was like, he was able to, well, if you did have his association, he would be able to tell you when you were lacking in making spiritual advancement and help you along the way. But at the moment, it seems that a lot of people are saying that if there is no Uttama Adhikari present to be a Shiksha or a Diksha guru for anybody, then
There is an Uttama Adhikari present.
Yeah, Prabhupada is present in his books, and therefore
the
discipline,
in his instructions,
the discipline should come. The discipline should come directly from his instructions, and that's the only form of discipline. And then it comes down to the person's own discipline, whether they accept that or not.
Exactly.
Well, that's
In other words,
your position. Yeah.
Instead of listening to a guy on a chair, listen to Prabhupada on a recording. He's there. Yeah. And do you know what the secret is to making spiritual advancement? And there is no other secret for making spiritual advancement. The secret?
I don't recall it. I think no. Go ahead.
Okay, offenseless chanting of the holy name. Offenseless chanting. In other words, as long as I'm chanting, imagining myself to be my body, I'm committing an offense against the holy name. As long as I think, oh, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a demigod, I'm a dog, I'm a cat, I'm a butterfly. As long as I'm thinking like that, that's an offense, even if I'm chanting. Offenseless chanting means to transcend your body and chant from the platform of Jiva, who you actually are. You are part and parcel of Krishna. That's pure. Krishna is never not pure. We are marginal energy. We can become entranced by Maya, which is impure, but that's not who we are. We are jivas. And we can, at any point we like, in an instant or after 100 million births, reclaim our status as jivas only, without considering our body of any consequence whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I would say that to make spiritual advancement, according to the instructions I've seen, is that on the bodily platform is to follow the regulative principles, and on the mental platform it's to follow the instructions in the Vani, and then on the spiritual platform it's to follow the Bhakti.
Yes, so Bhakti means offenseless chanting.
Yeah. So you're saying the most important one is the Bhakti, to
of course,
to love people and not commit offenses.
Following the regulative principles is stupid. Do you know why?
I don't believe it's stupid. How can it
be
stupid?
You don't believe it's stupid. I'm just making a statement. I'm saying following the regulative principles is stupid because who needs regulative principles except stupid people? Why do people need to be told don't eat meat, don't have illicit sex, don't gamble? Why do they have to to be told that. It's the nature of the jiva not to do those things. Why would the person be told to
But
follow
the
regular?
jiva has a
because
nature. The jiva has a nature to fall down, a tendency to fall
no,
down.
no, because the
so
jiva
this
is
regulates.
the jiva is identified with the body.
But he has a tendency to fall down. So even if he's in the position of not being stupid, like if he's following the principles, he still needs the principles to keep himself
Well, of course.
from falling down.
But
because the
what
jiva
I'm-
has the
maybe I'm
tendency to
getting
make
too tricky.
mistakes and to be
Maybe
corrupt
I'm-
and cheat.
Maybe I'm getting too tricky. But if you're a Madhyamadikari, you no longer need to concern yourself with the four regulative principles. That's one of the qualities of a Madhyamadikari.
Not because they stop following them, though, because they
No,
because they're
you
fixed
don't
up in
need
them.
to be told to follow them.
Yeah, that's what I said. But it's not because they stop following them; it's because they're fixed up in them.
Exactly.
But they're still relevant to them. They don't become irrelevant.
Well, the four regular principles are relevant only.
But they don't become
Okay,
irrelevant.
let me ask you this. Do the four regular principles apply to anyone who is not bodily conscious?
Do the regulative principle apply to someone who's not bodily conscious? You're referring to an Uttamadikari. So do they apply to them?
Uttamadikari doesn't have to worry about four regulative principles. Neither does a Madhyamadikari. The person,
Well, they say they
just
don't
take into
fall down
account
and
the
they
four
don't fall down
regulative
and they can't fall
principles-
down.
Go ahead.
But the regulative principles are still relevant to them because they're still relevant because they don't engage in them because they're disgusting things. So they're relevant in the sense of like they know them as the path of nescience. Like
But
in
who are you talking
Isha-Upanishad.
about they? Are you talking about the body or the soul? Jiva?
No, you were talking about deliberate, like you were talking about a person who doesn't see themselves as the body. We could take
If a
it to
person
mean
doesn't see themselves as a body, then they don't have any interest in breaking the regulative principles.
yeah. So but they're still relevant to them because they know them as the path of nescience. Like
No, they're relevant for teaching, but they're not relevant for them. I mean, you can take a person
in the Isha-Upanishad. It says that the one who know, to know the path of transcendence and the path of nescience side by side enables them to get the full benefit of spiritual life. So there's
but that's
the regulative principles are still relevant in their knowledge, knowing them in the negative.
No, I'm not trying to argue against the regulative principles. Please understand. I'm trying to say the regulative principles are for people in the bodily conception of life. And the Istagosthi is the very process from Om Purnam Udaha Purnamidam up to the last verse is the process of a person understanding there's more to life than the material body. The Istagosthi is about the Kanistha Adhikari, how to begin to distinguish between, because remember the last verse is he comes to God and says, take away your bewildering, your mask. I want to see you. So as soon as you finish with the Istagosthi, you can qualify to go into the Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken by God, whose face is now available for you to see. You see, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make things confusing. What I'm really saying is the four regulative principles is the proof that the Kanistha Adhikari platform, people are in the bodily conception of life. Whether it's Tamagun, Rajagun, or Sattvagun, it's all material, right?
But it's like it says the Kanistha Adhikari will fall down without proper association. The Madhyamadikari does not fall down, and the Uttamadikari cannot fall down. But
exactly,
that means that the Madhyamadikari does not fall down. But I mean, it is possible for a Madhyamadikari to fall down. It is possible.
Told me he can fall down.
Yeah. So it's those things are
fall down.
They still remain very relevant.
He's guarded. He's guarded by his spiritual master, so that he
Yeah.
doesn't become puffed up and say, now I'm a
Yeah.
big guru or I'm a
Yeah.
big devotee or something, you know?
But if he was to offend the spiritual master, then very quickly those four regulative principles become relevant to him all over again. Yeah.
If
So
he
yeah, I
falls
guess,
down, yeah. The
yeah.
minute that a Madhyamadikari falls down, then he has to follow all the regulative principles again as a matter of discipline. But if he's a Madhyamadikari, he doesn't need to follow them because he doesn't have a relationship to them.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
appreciate
exist.
that.
They don't exist because he doesn't want to have sex. He doesn't want to gamble. He doesn't want to eat meat. He doesn't want to take intoxication. So if he doesn't
I
want to
get
do
it.
any of these things, it
They're
doesn't
not an
apply.
attraction. He has a higher taste already, so they're not an attraction
Exactly.
to him.
Just like you and me. Maybe,
Well, yeah,
maybe at some point,
I don't have it. I can't imagine you could put
I was
like
not born
meats
in a
or.
vegetarian family,
Mm.
but I've been a vegetarian since 1968. So, persona Mary. But the thing is that supposing that I am a meat eater and somebody tells me you have to follow regulated principles. Okay, what are the principles for a meat eater? Instead of saying don't eat meat, don't eat excrements like a pig. Don't eat what is it, poo-poos. Don't eat the excrement. Don't eat what people evacuate when they go to the bathroom. Well, if you're a pig, you have to be told that, don't you? Because the pigs like to eat that. They like to eat stool. It's full of nutrients. That's why they eat it. And their bodies are set up for eating it. But if you want a pig to become you said to the pig, you can eat meat, but don't eat stool.
Mm.
You see? But then
Well-
there's a devotee, you say, don't eat meat, take prasadam.
Mm.
It's just a question of separating yourself from the animal kingdom. Taking prasadam is not an animal act. It's a transcendental act.
So what would you say then to the case that, let's say, for example, there was someone who was an Uttamadhikari and they're present and they're capable of giving shiksha? Would you say that it is beneficial to take shiksha from that person in a system, in even though Prabhupada, even though Prabhupada,
in addition to Prabhupada?
Yeah, even though Prabhupada is present, that would you?
Prabhupada is always present, of course, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah, no.
So,
Yeah, no.
So Shiksha Guru is also always present.
Okay.
Who is Shiksha Guru?
So you're saying Prabhupada is the Shiksha Guru?
No, Diksha.
Okay, but so if an Uttamadhikari is present on earth, would you see it beneficial to take shiksha from this person?
But you will not find one.
That's not necessarily true, because anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Okay, then point one out to me.
No, I didn't say I had a location of one. I simply said that you said you will not. Will not means forward into the future.
Okay. Can I give you a little hint about that? When I went to India with Srila Prabhupada and I was traveling around India, I said, well, now I'm going to meet probably a lot of pure devotees like Prabhupada. So I went around looking. And I didn't separate myself, but I was just kept my eyes open to see if I heard of anybody who was a pure devotee. And this is when Prabhupada was personally present, and I was with him in his entourage. And I didn't find anybody. And I said, this is strange. India has so many people, so many gurus, so many vegetarians, so many Hindus, so many. Certainly there must be a pure devotee like Prabhupada. And you know what finally I concluded? I had to conclude, if there were one, he would be doing what Prabhupada's doing, opening temples everywhere, installing deities, and having Sankirtan parties going out. Prabhupada invited his godbrothers to do that with him. He said, come to America. We could spread this movement together. He said, come here, come there, and open temples and chant. And they refused. They didn't want to do it. None of his gurus did.
My
And these are
question to
his
you,
favorite ones.
well, my question to you is more, it's like for everybody, like if anyone was to encounter in the future an iṣṭa-goṣṭhī, would you see it as beneficial for them to take shiksha, even though Prabhupada is
Well,
present
if that
in his
person were an
books?
iṣṭa-goṣṭhī, they would be holding kirtans with hundreds of thousands of people. They will have created Daivaman Ashram Dharma.
So would you see it as beneficial for them to
In
take
other words,
shiksha from
if
that person?
if there was such a potent spiritual person on earth, they wouldn't be hanging around. They would be broadcasting the mission of Lord Chaitanya as it has never been broadcast before.
But would you recommend they become a formal shiksha disciple of that person?
The whole world will become a shiksha disciple of that person. Why just you?
Why just you? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
I mean, can you imagine that person would be like Lord Chaitanya? He'd be going from town to village, getting everyone to chant
is
the
there a
holy name.
difference? Is there a difference between someone on the level of Prabhupada and an iṣṭa-goṣṭhī? Is there a separation between the two, or are they identical?
Between a shiksha and diksha guru? Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī? No,
yeah, like a shiksha and a diksha. No, they are identical.
They are both identical. They are both. Just understand. Supposing, can you separate yourself from your normal world for a moment and imagine that you're in two worlds? Your feet are on planet Earth, and your head and shoulders and waist are in Krishna Loka right now.
I can see now. There's a verse. I remember reading it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where it says that they're identical. It's nonsense to consider them as anything different.
Yes.
So
therefore, now can you try my example? Can you imagine yourself with your upper body in Krishna Loka and your lower body on Earth right now?
No.
Well, can you look around and see that there's Kalpavriksha, there's desire fulfilling trees, there's Chintamani stones, there's Sarabi cows, there's gopis, there's cowherd boys? Can you not imagine that you're there?
Oh, well, I can imagine that. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, imagine it. Now just try it for a moment. I'm not saying you're there. You just imagine. Now, can you also then imagine that someone is the Diksha Guru, like Prabhupada, who comes from that platform and preaches on earth while never leaving the Krishna Loka? He never leaves Krishna Loka. And what does Prabhupada preach? He preaches what Krishna sends him to speak through his mouth. It is Krishna speaking through Prabhupada. Not just Prabhupada sitting there becoming rich and famous. And then can you imagine the Shiksha Guru is there too? He's on the same platform. He's a cowherd boy. He's in the Krishna Loka.
Yeah, you said that Prabhupada is always present, but there is one verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he says when the spiritual master is not present, he can take shiksha instruction, and the shiksha guru becomes as good as the diksha guru. Basically,
yes.
If the spiritual master
he has to be on the same. He has to be on the same platform. Now, back at the time of Lord Chaitanya, that was possible. There were many people that were shiksha gurus of the 6 Goswamis. But they were also Uttama Adhikaris. There were crowds of Uttama Adhikaris with Lord Chaitanya. But Prabhupada is the only one on planet Earth.
Yeah, but you were saying also,
right?
You were saying that like the Kanishta, well, it says the Kanishta platform, we should not remain on it for very long. So we should move up to Madhyam. And then the Madhyam also, you were saying it's transitory. So if it's transitory.
Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it?
Yeah, if it's transitory, then, I mean, well,
put it this way.
Following strictly and making advancement and
Prabhuji.
Yeah,
I would be totally surprised if anyone can leave the Kanishta Adhikari platform after having become a disciple of Prabhupada, either in his presence or after his disappearance, that does not take 50 or 100 births as a Kanishta Adhikari. Because it will take that long to go from a person that's dreaming of breaking the regulated principles to a person that has no desire for them whatsoever. Just trying to say, the Kanishta Adhikari platform, you have to take many births. The Madhyama Adhikari platform, you may have to take a few births. Uttama Adhikari platform, you take no births. Does it make sense?
Or you're saying to get off the, to get Uttama Adhikari, I mean, yeah.
When you become the Uttama Adhikari, you will never take birth again. Unless,
well, I mean, it doesn't make sense in the
Shakti
sense that
avatar.
it doesn't make sense in the sense that I never heard there was a time limit. I always heard that it was based on whatever. I mean, if you, like Prabhupada said, 1 second, if you want the benefit, but you have to surrender for that. Like if someone wants to surrender, I didn't know there was a time limit.
There is. Yes, you can do 1 split second. You can become an Uttama Adhikari.
Yeah, but you have to. It has to be serious, like real surrender.
Well, you have to beyond serious. You have to be self-realized. You have to be. You have to reach spiritual perfection to become an Uttama Adhikari. You have to be in a loving exchange with Krishna to become an Uttama Adhikari. So unless you're instantly in a loving relationship with Krishna, what are you thinking? That becoming Uttama Adhikari is like Jesus being saved by Jesus? You die and you go to heaven?
But more to the point that, like, if one can become an Uttama in 1 second, then to become a Madhyam, it might not necessarily take many births. I mean, it's possible someone could become a Madhyama Adhikari in one.
Look, you don't have to take more than 1 birth as a Kanishta Adhikari. You don't have to take more than 1 birth as a Madhyama Adhikari. But that depends on you. Try to remember, anyone, even if he doesn't become a member of ISKCON or a devotee of Krishna or take initiation from anyone who's standing around when our Sankirtan party goes out chanting Prabhupada melodies on the street, they're going to go back to Godhead. Will they go back to Godhead in 10 minutes, in a split second, in 1 birth, in 100 births, or 1,000 births? That's up to them.
Yeah.
The more they can become offenselessly chanting, as soon as you can chant offenselessly, that is when you can go back to Godhead.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to
but who can chant offenselessly?
It's a good thing to say. Well, yeah, we should always make sure to go back.
Do you know how you can commit
you go back to the 10 offenses. You go back to the 10 offenses and make sure you're not committing them. It's a good thing for all of us to do.
Yeah.
Whenever we get a chance. Yeah.
Do you know how you can prevent yourself from going back to Godhead?
Committing loads of offenses.
No, you can just say, "What's for breakfast?"
What?
Why do you need breakfast?
I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How do you know? I
missed the first bit.
What can stop you from going back to Godhead?
And then you said asking what's for breakfast, is it?
Yes. Why?
Because you're considering sorry, I don't know. No, the first thought that came into my mind, but this seems to be wrong. But asking what's for breakfast is like it's. Sorry, I was thinking along the lines of like prasadam is spiritual, and if you're thinking in a mundane way, but that's probably not what you mean.
No, I'm thinking even if it's prasadam, what do you feed the jiva with prasadam?
Oh, right. Yeah. Prabhupada
What-
said that the Hare Krishna
When
movement
you
means to reduce
take
eating and
prasadam,
sleeping.
what do you feed?
Hmm?
When you take prasadam, you get spiritual food, but why do you want to eat prasadam? Because you're hungry, right?
Oh, you think you're the body. Yeah. This
Yeah.
is
Now you got
this
it.
is what I meant. You're thinking that you need to eat. Yeah, this is the thing.
Yes. The minute that you have a material desire, it's because you have a material body.
Hmm.
Now look at your own life, the way you've lived it now, the last 10 minutes, the last 3 seconds. Just consider how much of your thinking has been based on the fact that you are a person who was born at a certain time, a certain place, got a certain education, has a certain profession, you know?
Yeah.
In other words, pertains to your body. It's only when you're no longer pertaining to your body at all that the spiritual question can take precedence. But as long as you want something for your body, then the spiritual, the spiritual component is replaced by a material component. But you could say because you are a kanistha adhikari, then when you want to eat prasadam prepared by the Brahmins in the temple of Jagannath and distributed to 50,000 people every day, all day long. When you take that, you're making spiritual advancement. Why? Because the Jagannath prasadam is prasadam. It is Krishna. However, you're not chewing and swallowing and digesting based on it being Krishna. You're basing it on the fact that you're hungry because you have a material body that wants to eat. And you're being blessed by being given spiritual food to eat rather than just a hamburger or a hot dog or a pile of stool or what a pig would like or anything like that. You see?
Yeah. Well,
As long as you have senses and you identify with your senses in any slight way as being yourself, then you're going to not get to the Madhyamadikari platform. Or put it this way, you can start the Madhyamadikari platform feeling like that. Oh, I want to eat, I want clothes, I want this, I like my wife, I like my kids, all the things you like pertaining to this birth. Remember, this birth is just one of an infinite number of possible births. So in your next birth, are you going to be the person you are today? Or are you going to be somebody else? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And are you going to be a
so
human? Maybe you'll be a dog. Maybe you'll be a parakeet. You don't know. Maybe you'll be a king. Maybe you'll be a woman. You don't know, right? In this one birth that you're in right now, you do not know what your next birth is going to be, correct?
Well, yeah, of course.
Of course, but everything you do, everything we do in the body pertains to what this body wants, not what a bird body wants. If I become a bird, or a walrus body, or an elephant body, if I become an elephant, all my ideas of what I like and don't like are completely changed, aren't they? Now I want elephant food. I want an elephant wife, right?
Yeah.
There's no way to prevent that from occurring.
Yeah, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says there's two types of Shiksha Guru. One is one is someone who is a liberated person, and then the other one is someone who gives relevant instructions to inspire one to move forward in spiritual life. So if there's a second type of Shiksha Guru, someone who isn't a liberated person and they're simply giving relevant instructions, can that person
But you're
be
already, Prabhu, you're already liberated. What do you want to be liberated from?
No, I'm not saying, I didn't say I wanted to be liberated from anything. I was saying that.
No, you said that just now.
It delineates.
The Shiksha Guru.
I said that there's one of the types of Shiksha Guru is described as being a liberated person, and the other type is described as someone who gives relevant instructions that bring someone forward in spiritual life.
Yeah. Well, we could see at the time of Lord Chaitanya, there were many examples. We can see in our day and age, there are zero examples.
The other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions.
Okay.
So in this second type of spiritual master,
but try to remember,
do you believe the second? Do you believe
from a Shiksha Guru are not designed to give you liberation or even spiritual advancement? The instructions are to expand your scope of your relationship with Krishna.
Well, it says to invoke the disciple's spiritual consciousness.
I'm sorry?
It says he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. So if you're invoking one's spiritual consciousness, that would.
Why do you need spiritual instruction? What do you want to accomplish from getting
to make advancement?
What do you want as the end result of getting?
To make advancement in spiritual life and attain Krishna
consciousness. Okay,
consciousness.
what is the advancement you want? What do you want as a result of what? If you advance towards what? What do you want as the end result of advancement?
Well, the result of the relevant instructions is to move towards becoming spiritually advanced, which means to become Krishna conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the question I was asking was the second type of spiritual, instructing spiritual master, or instruct Shiksha Guru. This second type of Shiksha Guru, do you believe that they can take disciples? Oh yeah, because it says, is he who invokes, actually this is interesting. It says here that it is he who invokes the disciples' spiritual consciousness. So it's taken to mean that he has a disciple, like meaning he's actually having disciples, even though he's not. The first type is liberated and the second type isn't liberated. So it's saying that people who are not liberated can have disciples as a Shiksha Guru.
No. Prabhupada did not say that.
I can show you the quote here. It's
read the quote.
It's the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 147. The translation says, one should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as the super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. And in the purport, I can read all of it, or I can Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj.
And we are assuming that this is an unedited book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, right?
Yeah,
not one that's been screwed around with.
Yeah, it's on Vani quotes, but I could go to the other one if you like. I'm pretty sure it's not been screwed around.
Okay, well, anyhow, let's see what it says.
Yeah, I mean, I can go to the other one as well, but we'll see. Most of them are okay, so like we can double check this later to make sure that it's not edited. But yeah, it probably would be good.
Okay, well, read it and then go to the other one. That would be nice.
Okay, I'll read it first and then we'll go to the other one. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Krishna. Shri Krishna himself teaches us as the instructing spiritual master from within and without. From within, he teaches Paramatma, our constant companion, and from without, he teaches from the Bhagavad Gita as the instructing spiritual master. There are two kinds of instructing spiritual master. One one is the liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciples' spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instruction. So it uses the word disciple for both of them. So that's taken to mean that they have.
It doesn't seem that either of them is not a liberated soul. In fact, it uses the example of the Bhagavad Gita as sort of underlines that it's a liberated soul. I mean, why are we?
It does actually differentiate. It does differentiate.
Why are we trying so hard to find a guru who's not a liberated soul?
Well, you said there are no liberated souls. So the question is, should there be anyone else to be a guru while there's no liberated souls present? That's the question. So
the question is, what?
One is
let me just ask you the basic question.
Well, no, there's a discrepancy.
What will the guru give you, liberated or not liberated soul? Supposing a pure devotee walks on the earth right now, what will he give you right now?
So what will a pure devotee give? Pure devotee gives everything.
What would a pure devotee give you if he were to appear right now to you?
Everything.
Like what? A car?
Well, everything relevant. No, spiritual.
Car, fancy clothes, good wife?
Everything spiritual.
Like what is everything spiritual?
He would give he would give instruction, and he would give
instruction to what?
Spiritual advancement, and he would also
wait a second. Advancement towards what?
And he would also give Krishna. So
look, the holy name of Krishna is of Shakti-Vishavatar. Already by chanting, even if you're a karmi, even if you're busy eating a ham sandwich, the holy name of Krishna is Krishna. As a Shakti-Vishavatar, if you hear, you're going to go back to Godhead. End of story. Or beginning of story, whichever you prefer. But basically, that's fait accompli. It is a finished deal. You're going to go back to Godhead. The only question is, what adjustment do you have to make in your personal self-perception before going back to Godhead translates into living in Krishna Loka? And the answer is so simple. We talked about it. First, you become the Madhyamadikari, then you become the Kanistha Adhikari, then you become the Madhyamadikari, and finally, hey, you win. You become an Uttama Adhikari. So all you need to get that perfection is to hear the holy name once. After that, chant without offense. Everything else will come to you. You don't have to go to it.
Okay, but the question
you don't have to give any guru some money. You don't have to worship the guru in the temple.
But the question is, right, in this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the purport, it does differentiate. It says one is the liberated person, fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instruction. So it literally defines the person as anyone who gives relevant instructions.
Yeah, well, it sounds as though one is like setting the example through transpersonal transcendental ecstasy, and the other one is giving instructions.
Yeah, so
but that doesn't mean they're on different platforms.
So do you believe that the second person, that's not a formal, it's only informal that can happen, to give relevant instructions?
If it's a Shiksha Guru, it means he is a resident of Krishna Loka. What he does as a resident of Krishna Loka, it depends on a whole bunch of factors. But first, he must be of that caliber. It's sort of like you're arguing over who should be the successor to the king when you have not established the royal blood in the first place.
Well, there is another verse that states that the person who presents the person who presents the words of the spiritual master without changing them, he is also like any person who presents the words of the spiritual master.
That person is known as a Vartana Pradakṣha Guru.
Yeah, so as long as they're presenting what the spiritual master says without adulteration,
Yeah, but he
they
doesn't
are
have to be he doesn't have to be an Uttamadhikari to be the Vartana Pradakṣha Guru.
yeah, like that person doesn't have to be liberated. He doesn't have to be a resident
No.
of Krishna Loka. He can simply just be presenting the spiritual
Have you
master's
ever heard
words.
of Hridayananda Swami?
Yeah.
He claims that I'm his Vartana Pradakṣha Guru
Oh. Well,
because I introduced him to Krishna consciousness.
But it doesn't say that one has to be the first person to introduce a person to Krishna consciousness. It simply just says anyone who repeats exactly what the spiritual master says and doesn't adulterate it, they are, does it say they're as good as a spiritual master? I'm trying to find the quote for you.
The thing is, we keep on looking for some magical formula that if we find the right person, our troubles are over.
Well,
But you don't need to find the right person. The right person has come to you. His name is Lord Chaitanya. How did he come to you? Through Prabhupada. And that's all you need. If you get it anywhere else, it's just mental speculation, calculated profit. You want to profit. It's like a business. You want to make some profit on your deal. Well, that's what happens when a person wants a guru that will push him ahead of the crowd and give him an advantage towards getting a boost towards Krishna Loka. But that's not how it works. It's the opposite. The one who is kind and merciful, who is generous with the holy name, who gives the deliverance to others by chanting, knowing that if they hear the mantra once, they will go back to Godhead after a period of time. You see?
Well, I don't think it's not a business thing it's not business to want to want to make advancement in spiritual life.
I'm sorry?
How is it business to want to make advancement in spiritual life? If someone wants to make advancement, they're sincerely
because you don't need to make
avenue.
advancement in spiritual life. You're already going to go back to Godhead. Where do you want, if you start where you are, where do you want to end up?
What advancement in spiritual? The reason to want advancement in spiritual life is to better serve
the way you describe it sounds like profit motive.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, you said that. That's what it sounds like. But the reason for
okay, so what is it you want to? The reason. What do you want to what profit do you want to get?
No, you said that. I don't agree. But
well, what do you say?
The reason. Yeah, I'm saying the reason
sounds
for
to me
spiritual,
just like material advancement.
The reason for spiritual advancement is to be able to better serve the guru. So
the guru.
Prabhupada.
How about serving? Supposing the guru tells you to serve humanity on all living beings, plants, grass, trees, birds, insects, maggots. What if the guru tells you serve them, don't serve the guru? Supposing the instruction is wherever you go, whomever you meet.
Then if you do that, you're still serving him by following that instruction.
Huh?
By following that instruction, you're serving him.
Which instruction?
If he tells you to serve the trees and the plants.
Oh yeah, that yes. Lord Chaitanya said it specifically. Lord Chaitanya did not say, wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply think of your guru. He said, wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply speak of Krishna. This movement is not based on a religious structure. with a guy at the top and a guy at the bottom, and people in between. This is not a Catholic church. It's not a Christian church. It's not a Jewish religion. It's not a Muslim faith. It is a process by which you're in a dungeon with your hands shackled with padlocks and your legs shackled with padlocks, and someone tosses the key into the door. And you take it and you start to unlock the padlocks one at a time. And you become free. You're flexing your arms. You haven't moved in years. And then what you're thinking is, how can I get more out of this? Or is you're going to think, how am I going to give this key to people in the next cell so they can become liberated? I've been tossed the key to unshackle myself. When will do I want to make a deal out of that? Does somebody have to give me something so that the key, that I'll let them use the key? Is it my key? Or did it just come to me causelessly? So I have the key to unlock my shackles. When will it occur to me that the greatest thing I can do is to hand the key to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy, until everybody is unlocked from their shackles? That is the teaching of the Guru. That is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya. It's not like wherever you go, whomever you meet, get as much as you can for yourself.
But there's this quote here, and it says that guru is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the relevant revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master.
Yeah,
so
Prabhupada said that.
Yeah, so
and
anyone,
he said guru means heavy, heavier than me. Whoever is heavier than me in knowledge, it's guru. So if you know where the post office is and I don't, and you tell me where the post office is, you're my post office direction guru.
But is accepted as a spiritual master. Not only is a guru, but is accepted as a spiritual master.
Sure, because he's given you the truth. But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
you surrender to him and you start washing his dishes for him.
Anyone who gives spiritual, well,
I mean, does it sound as though that it's a recipe to make you a slave of somebody else? Or does it a path of freedom? Look, if you're shackled up and you find it, or the key comes to your hand, you have a choice. Either how can I capitalize on my having the key that can unlock everybody, or how will I get this keys to make sure everyone becomes equally unlocked as I am? People don't think that because everyone is greedy. And why does it take more than one birth to go back to Godhead? Because you have to get over your selfish impulses.
Well, see, Prabhupada did say that when the spiritual master is not present, the Shiksha Guru can be accepted as good as the spiritual master. So if the that means anyone who is giving instructions can be accepted as the spiritual master, so they can.
Not unless he's a Shiksha Guru.
Yeah, if he's a Shiksha Guru, yeah.
Well,
but he doesn't have to be. The Shiksha Guru does
Where are you going to find the Shiksha Guru?
But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, it says the Shiksha Guru doesn't have to be a liberated person. So this is our conversation earlier about an Uttama.
What do you
the
mean?
Shiksha Guru has to
Where
be an
exactly
Uttama.
does it say that the Shiksha Guru does not have to become a liberated person?
Doesn't have to be. Well, it says it differentiates in this thing we were reading here, where it says there are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person, fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. So it doesn't say anything about him being liberated. It simply says
it doesn't say anything about him not being liberated.
Yeah, but it says
Why are you
by-
so anxious to
by
have a
the-
teacher
by the-
that's
because
not
it says-
liberated?
it says
You
one
already
is,
have a liberated teacher. Why do you want something less?
well, you see, the thing is, it's not less, because if you have a person who's not
What do you
liberated,
mean not less? If he's not a pure devotee, he's less.
yeah,
You already have.
no,
You
no,
already
he's
have
not.
Prabhupada.
He's
Why
not,
do you want
because
somebody that's
he's-
less?
he's not less. He's as good as the same, because
That he's on the same platform.
no, as good. I didn't say he's on the same. I said he's as good as the same.
That's
Because
just parsing.
No,
If he's as good as the
it's not.
same, then he's the same, as good as the same.
Yeah, he is as good as the same. He's not on the.
Oh yeah.
Obviously,
How can he be less and then good as the same?
Prabhupada said that if one is following, like if one one can be as good as pure if he follows the spiritual master. So if someone is
But
giving
you have to follow
instructions,
purely.
yeah. If he is by means of relevant instructions, relevant being if those instructions are the same as the instructions given, if those instructions are the same as the instructions given, like if they're based on the revealed scriptures, if those instructions are based on the revealed scriptures, then
what about the revealed scriptures? Prabhupada wrote them. Prabhupada wrote all these. Do you think anyone is going to write any more books for the next 9,500 years?
Yeah, but the point was that the person is as good as, like, he doesn't have to be liberated, because he's Prabhupada said that if someone is following the pure devotee, he's as good as a pure devotee, as long as he's following strictly.
If he's as good as a pure devotee, then he's following perfectly.
Yeah, he's following strictly. So he's as
Not
good as a pure
strictly,
devotee.
perfectly, in perfect consciousness.
Well, Prabhupada said, no, that Prabhupada actually said that even though one may be not 100% pure, as long as he is following someone who is pure, he is accepted to be as good as pure. So he was saying, even though there may be some
that's an honorary thing. Just like Prabhupada had us treat the sannyasis as though they were pure devotees. They weren't, but he had us treat them as though they were pure devotees.
Well, he says, but if we follow Arjuna and Krishna, then we get perfect knowledge.
Arjuna and Krishna are both perfect.
May not be 100% perfect, but as far as possible,
no,
if we follow
Arjuna and Krishna.
Just let me finish reading Prabhupada. May not be 100% perfect, but as far as possible, if we follow the instruction as it is, that much perfect. In this way, we will get perfection. So one has to follow the same example. Try to understand that a perfect expert technologist or technician or mechanic is working, and somebody is working under his instruction. So this somebody, because he is strictly working under the instruction of the expert, he's also expert. He may not be 100% expert, but his work is expert. Is that clear?
Okay, that means he's a good temple president.
Because he is working under the experts. Do you follow?
We're all working under the expert of Prabhupada.
If you follow pure devotee, then you're also pure devotee. It may not be one is sent.
No, that's not what it said.
It does. It says that's exactly what it says. It says, so if you follow pure devotee, then you are also pure devotee. It may not be one is 100% pure, but because we are trying to raise oneself from the conditional life, but if we strictly follow the pure devotee, then we are also pure devotee. He repeats it a second time.
Does that take a genius to figure out?
So far we do, that is pure. So he says, so far we do, that is pure.
You don't understand.
So pure devotee does not mean one who has become immediately 100% pure. He said, so pure devotee does not mean one that has become immediately.
Can I explain that for you? Because I was there when he just said it.
It's only one sentence. So pure devotee does not mean that one has to become immediately 100% pure. But if he sticks to the principle that we'll follow a pure devotee, then his actions are, he is as good as a pure devotee. So that means also Shiksha Guru.
No, it doesn't.
He's following. Yeah, he's following. He's as good as
No, liberated. It does not say. Prabhupada said a Shiksha Guru has to be a resident of Krishna Loka. It's in his writing. Ask Ramachandra.
Okay.
We have all the quotes. we have 35 quotes or so describing that the Shiksha Guru must be on the same platform as the Uttama Adhikari, Diksha Guru.
But if he's
We have all
following,
the
if
quotes.
he's following the Diksha Guru, that would put him on the same platform.
No, it
Okay.
means he's representing the same platform
Yeah.
imperfectly. He's representing it imperfectly, but with the essential truth intact.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
yeah. As long as
that's
he's
what
as long as the
that's what the
essential
temple
truth is
president
intact, that's
is
the
supposed
key.
to do.
That's the key.
Anybody who joins the movement for more than a week is in that position of doing that. Yes. He hears from Prabhupada. He quotes from Prabhupada. Does he quote Prabhupada perfectly? No. Does he give the essence of what Prabhupada is saying? Yes. So that applies to you too.
Yeah,
Anytime you preach from Prabhupada, that's as good as Prabhupada.
Yeah, like as long as your mistakes are like, if the mistakes made by the person preaching are
Doesn't matter.
not
Everybody
deep,
makes mistakes.
yeah, but as long as they return to the message to clarify it and they don't deviate to the point where they never return to clarify it, then it's as
Do
good
you
as
know
pure. That's what he
they're
said.
saying?
That's what he was saying. It's as good as pure. It's
Do you
as
know what
good
that
as
is
pure.
called? It's called do the best you can.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all.
So
It doesn't
yeah,
mean anything more than that.
it means if there's a fall down or a mistake, we immediately return to the point and continue
But
from
what
that point.
Prabhupada said about Diksha Shiksha, he said if there's any deviation whatsoever, even minutely, between the Diksha and Shiksha Guru, then one or both of them are rascals.
If there's any deviation between, but okay,
With even slight deviation between the teaching of the Diksha and the Shiksha Guru, then one or both of them are rascals. What you're talking about is the temple president. It's like Vishnu John saying the Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, he gave me the essence. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam. Couldn't pronounce it, but he did the best he could.
but
What do you know what the bottom line is? He gave me the supreme absolute truth.
but the thing is that by means of relevant instruction, this second type doesn't have to be like there can't be a like you were saying that if there's any discrepancy between the Diksha and the Shiksha, then they're both rascals. But in this
Prabhupada
version,
said that.
yeah, that's well, I'm accepting it.
Prabhu, are you married?
And hold on, what's
Are you married?
no, Prabhu, no.
Okay. What it sounds like, the way you're talking, is like a man who has a chaste wife and he's trying to turn her into a whore.
Yeah, Peru.
Yes, because you'd rather have a whore than a chaste wife.
Well, okay, I'm trying to figure
You're
out how
looking for a loophole. Instead of going for the supreme absolute truth, you're trying to find excuses. What is the use of these excuses? What will you get out of it?
It's not an excuse. I'm not looking for an excuse.
Oh,
Because
yes. You're trying to say, how can you find somebody that's less than a pure devotee that you can treat as a pure devotee? That's exactly what you're doing.
Or you could look at it. No,
you're trying to cheapen the pure devotee.
No, it's not at all. You can look at it the other way, that it's that if people are able to do this service, they should be able to do this service.
Well, they can. Vishnu John said, when Vishnu John said, this is the Srimad Bhagavatam, didn't he do a great service to me?
Yeah. And
okay.
One can
Is that the way you pronounce it? No.
Well, it's absolute, so it's fine.
Was Mr. John a pure devotee? No.
But as good as pure
devotion. Listen, did he give me pure devotional service? Yes. How could he give me pure devotional service if he was not a pure devotee? Because he spoke the truth as best he could understand it, and the essence of it was true, even though he turned into a rascal and everything he did turned into rascaldom, and he committed suicide.
And
Okay.
hmm,
Why are you looking to make the pure devotee, the chaste wife into the whore? Imperfection
I'm not
in spiritual
looking to
life
do that.
is the task of a
I'm
whore,
seeing here that
not of a pure devotee.
I'm
Huh?
seeing, I'm not doing that. I'm seeing here that it says one is the liberated person, fully absorbed in meditation. And he does differentiate between the two. And the other is he who invokes the disciples' spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. And because they're using relevant, like they're
Yes,
relating.
that's
They're
what Vishnu
relating.
John did.
They're relating. They're using the instructions to
Yeah,
relate.
that's
So
Vishnu John
that
did
means
that.
that means they're based like the other similar quote.
Okay, do you understand that there's no difference
other-
between what you're saying and what
But
Vishnu John did?
the other similar quote says that anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures, so it means they're tied because they're not fully liberated. They have everything they say has to be based on the scriptures because they're not liberated.
So why not just go to the revealed scriptures yourself and get it without the whore involved?
So because now hold on a second, someone is based, this is the thing, the fact that they're based on it keeps them in check because they're not perfect, they're not 100% pure. So because they're not, because they're
the whore
because they're based, because they base things and relate things,
but she gets a venereal disease in the process.
The basing and the relation of this person's instructions means that it purifies the fact that they might not be liberated or pure, but the other people don't need to.
No, it doesn't purify it.
It does.
It gives. You're getting the essence without getting the complete truth.
But it makes a lot of sense why they would need to base their instructions and relate their instructions, because without that base and without that relation,
so go for it. Shall I benedict you that that's the guru you will have?
What do
or do you want
that's
perfection?
What guru? What?
Well, you're talking about a shiksha. Do you want that sort of shiksha? Do you want that to be your shiksha guru?
But
Should
the
I
thing
benedict you? That would be a curse to
no,
you.
but there is
I'm
no
not going
other.
to curse you with imperfect teachers.
There is no other guru, because if they're basing, if they're
Oh,
following,
yes, there is another guru.
If
His
they're
name
following,
is Prabhu.
that's what I was saying. There is no other guru. That's what I was saying. There is no other guru.
No other guru than what?
There is no other guru in the context. If you have someone who's basing and relating to revealed script, or relating relevant instructions and basing on revealed scriptures, then there is no other guru, because their relation is to Srila Prabhupada,
Right.
and the basing on the revealed.
How many days or weeks?
Let me say my point. Like I could try to say my point.
Your point is horrible.
What do you mean? Yeah, so you're not going to let me say it then, because you believe it's. But it's not a horrible point. It's not a horrible point.
You are actively representing Vishnu John.
But because Vishnu John was basing what he said, and it is related to Prabhupada, there is no other guru. Vishnu John wasn't being a guru. Prabhupada was the guru. So
But
so that nullifies. You said to me that I was saying there's some other guru.
Vishnu John was not the Shiksha guru.
I know, but you're saying to me that I was saying there was some other guru, and that I was trying to prostitute.
Yeah, the Shiksha guru. Vishnu John is the other guru for you.
No, he's not the guru, because he's basing and relating. So what is your
point? Are you just making an academic point? You're wasting your time.
I'm not. Well, no, I don't believe I'm wasting. I'm saying that
you are, or then you're wasting mine. What is the benefit? We've had very high level, self-realized conversations at points in this conversation, and now you're coming down into the muck at the bottom of the boat.
Well, it's that a Shiksha guru. The point seems to be that a Shiksha guru.
Why don't you look up Shiksha guru in more context? And let's not talk about Shiksha guru again.
No, I'm saying that if Prabhupada, if someone is representing Prabhupada as a Shiksha guru,
I'm losing my patience.
But I'm saying if someone's representing Prabhupada as a Shiksha guru.
No, you're doing it again. You're off on one of your blah, blah, blah. I don't want to insult you. I was developing great respect for you. And I don't want to lose it.
But the thing is, I wanted to speak a point on it. And
I don't want to hear the shit.
if you can defeat it, go ahead and defeat it. But let me say it, and then you can tell me it's nonsense, and or you can defeat it.
I've
But
defeated it 20 times. Now what do you want?
no, I didn't get to fully say it. And the thing is,
Okay,
that
go ahead.
yeah, the point is that
But
if
stop,
somebody,
you're insulting my intelligence. Now keep going.
okay, if somebody bases their instructions on the revealed scriptures and relates relates the if they relate the instructions to Prabhupada, and then they base it on the revealed scriptures translated by Prabhupada, then there is no other guru, and by following him, they're as good as pure. So they don't need to be liberated to be a Shiksha guru. They can be as good as pure.
No, okay, I agree with you. ISKCON is based on exactly that. The temple president.
You don't agree with ISKCON, though.
A guy comes in 6 months later, he's giving class. That's fine. Okay?
Oh, do
That's
you mean the real ISKCON? Like the real ISKCON, Prabhupada's
No,
ISKCON?
any ISKCON, the one I joined.
Oh, okay.
I was in Columbus, Ohio, and a bunch of students came in, and I sat down and I started giving them a class from the Bhagavad Gita, and they began treating me like a guru. And I said, never again. I will never put myself in that position. I was simply quoting Prabhupada, and they began to treat me like a guru. That's a very strong point for me. You could ask yourself, why didn't R. Narayan Das, one of the very top members of the ISKCON movement, why did I not become an ISKCON guru? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Well,
they didn't want me part of their system because my attachment was for Prabhupada.
I thought you didn't want to be part of their system also, no? Because it's not
I did
right
not want to be part of their scheme. I wanted to represent Prabhupada, not them. They wanted to represent each other, not Prabhupada. And these are the guys you would like to flatter as being Shiksha gurus.
No, it's nothing to do with them. I'm not speaking about their false system at all.
It fits them exactly.
I'm not speaking about their false system at all. I'm only speaking about the pure instructions from the actual books and what should be done in a real organization.
Read them.
Yeah.
Read the books. And if anyone tries to explain it to them, tell them to go to hell. Read the books. You'll become a liberated soul.
But this
Listen
point
to somebody interpret them, it'll take longer.
Yeah, but see,
read Prabhupada's books. He put them out there to be read, not to be argued with.
Yeah.
Look, would you do me a favor?
You look up this quote from to find this thing about that.
Would you do me a favor?
It depends what it is.
Would you please do me a favor?
I don't know what do you want?
Tomorrow, call Ramachandra and have him send you by email or by reading it off the page all of the qualifications of Diksha Shiksha Guru.
Okay, so this thing of a Shiksha Guru must be liberated.
I'm not saying my opinion or his opinion. I'm saying what Prabhupada wrote in his books. Please do it. You're simply torturing me for nothing.
All right, well,
I'm trying to tell you the truth. I'm trying to help you understand how to understand what you're saying. But no, you have to go with an idea that's fixed in your brain, stuck like a rusty bolt on a rusty nut with a rusty bolt.
Well, yeah, I'll speak to Ramachandra. I'll look for this verse.
Yeah, please do.
Must be liberated.
Because frankly, I was developing such nice respect for you. You have given up the path that we were on, and I don't want to go on your path. Okay? I want to go on Prabhupada's path. So that's what you were on when we were talking earlier. It was great. And I thank you for those great moments. I think I should leave now because I do need to get going. Okay.
Okay, yeah, Prabhu, me too. Yes, okay, thank you for talking, and
Hare
I'll
Krishna.
look
Yeah.
into.
And
I'll look into.
try not to think, don't sell yourself too cheap, which is what I think your instinct is to do. To sell yourself cheap. Don't. You are part and parcel of Krishna. That's not a cheap thing. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Jai Prabhupada.